finger on your mute button. Otherwise,
Sorry.
Whoa. Hey, are you guys unusually quiet? Like I don't. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I just need to turn mine up.
I actually you. Oh wait, actually you guys are. No, my headphones are only at 70. You guys sound loud to me.
Really? Okay.
Jason, especially when he was laughing, kind of really kicked.
Really? Okay.
But not crazy levels or anything.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird. I'm getting more audio on my left and than my right.
And apparently we're in 120 frames per second now.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know what's going on there.
Can you do that on your console? Never mind. I'm not going to get into that right now.
Jeremy, did you like this season of this half of the season of the anime?
I did. Not as much as last season or last half, but yes, I did.
That damn Karage arc. Your favorite moments?
Just the moments where he reveals stuff. I really liked seeing the Mr. Maui or whatever his name is, the smart one. I liked seeing him shine in the cooking contest.
Maru or something.
Yeah, I liked seeing that. It was kind of cool, kind of rewarding to see how quickly he learned about spices and seasonings, just to get a sense of him as a character, what he's capable of and how quickly he can learn. Just a month to master that to this almost the same degree as someone who was almost born into the field. So that was kind of a cool moment. Other than that, I mean, nothing really stands out to me. I'm sure stuff will come up. Oh, I love Creepy Girl. I wish she had more time. She was actually really entertaining when she made that stuff. I know that stuff. I've watched shows where they make that stuff, and it's so nasty.
Well, what's that?
So that was really cool.
Okay, your favorite character of this arc?
So this was really hard. I didn't really necessarily like anybody that much. They were all entertaining equally, but I picked Alice and Rio just because their relationship and how they behaved was really entertaining to watch. She's always got these crazy eyes. You never really know what she's going to do. Is she going to be a good guy? Is she going to be a bad guy? Is she going to be a jerk? Is she going to be nice? And you really see that kind of magnified in their relationship. And he as well is a really interesting character, being able to switch modes like that when he puts a headband on. It's a funny gimmick, but it worked.
He's the Berserker Warrior.
Yeah, he's the Berserker Warrior of the food wars.
Okay, and topics you want to touch on tonight?
I don't really have any.
Okay. Jason, did you like this season of the anime?
Yeah, it was all right.
Favorite moments?
Why do you keep calling it the Kagari?
Karage? In the Japanese, or in the sub, it's karage chicken, not fried chicken.
Yeah, karage.
That karage. Yeah, that's literally they say that word like 20 times in 2 episodes.
Okay. I really did like the karage arc, but I also liked the ending food battles because it was reminiscent of like a Iron Chef kind of show, so that was interesting.
Okay, favorite character?
I do like Meat. Unfortunately, I didn't like this half as much as the previous, but something about her character I really like. She's got some very redeeming qualities as well as some overconfidence issues. But I like I found it humorous every time she would be like, why is watching those two making me so mad? Wait a second, why am I even sitting here spying on them?
Okay, and topics you want to touch on tonight?
2 actually. One of them is I didn't like how there was decently vital information to the story after the ending credits. I think that was unnecessary. But also I wanted to discuss a little bit of the shonen fatigue and if that's like really a phenomenon that other people experience.
Okay. I really, other than the chicken arc, I liked everything about the season. I hate that arc.
Really?
And from the time I first said,
bother
"Hey,
me.
we're watching Food Wars," I've been dreading that storyline. And in my head, it's like, "Oh, it's like 6 episodes. He's just making stupid chicken." And it was 2 episodes, but I hate it. Other than that, I like everything. I really like the opening, and then I really like going into the tournament.
And Sexy Curry was really weird.
It was. Yes, it was.
My favorite moment, Megumi making the top 4. I don't remember if it got to me that much last time or if I even cared. I don't usually care about Megumi that much, but that hit me like a freight train this time. Just thinking about like how much she doubts herself and how low of an opinion she has of herself, and then like everyone in the background being like, "This is your time. This is what we've always known about you," and just being like, "Okay, that resonates. Okay, oh boy."
Yeah.
I think, I'll get into it when we're doing show taping.
I think
I have my coffee. I'm ready to go.
if she's not my favorite character, I really like the dad in this season. I liked his personality. Yeah. I liked that he limited his son in raising him. He's like, I only train him in diner stuff because, you know, he has all this knowledge. And he's like, no, I focused him on this, and now I'm challenging him to spread. And then topics I to touch on that. So I already told Jason this. I actually accidentally got to a YouTuber who talked about Food Wars, and there was 2 ideas he brought up. One I'd kind of already had in that. This anime is special because you can do what they're doing in this anime. That's something you can't do when Goku goes Super Saiyan and destroys Frieza. But I can make the meal, and I made the meal, guys, and so I feel like that's a special resonance that this thing has, and also that. Yeah, I'm gonna mention it.
Yeah,
that's gonna be my what I did this week, just so you know, and then I'm gonna tie it back in later. This is a shonen without actual fights, so it has to do everything else a shonen does well and doesn't have the fights to sell it. So it has to do everything better. It has to do the setups better. It has to do the idealism well, or it doesn't work.
There was actually in that last scene in the Spices, right, where they actually got to fight.
They're
I was
punching.
like, they're fighting. This is so cool.
Anybody else? I got my tea.
I'm good.
I have a water bottle somewhere.
I got my coffee, which it kind of dawned on me a while back that I felt pity for someone that feels like I probably shouldn't pity them. That Jeremy does not have the wonderfulness of coffee because he can't brew it. Nope. And I'm sure he's like, I am so much better off without it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who needs caffeine as a drug?
Right.
You can learn to use. Yeah.
I need it.
There was a time.
Also, Alex Straza, I cannot wait till she goes on normal sale.
Have you got a chance to like play around with her?
So I tried her in the Try It, and her abilities feel good. Also, her only little damage thing can heal and slow at the same time if you pick the right.
Oh, geez.
Talents. But yeah.
So just so you guys know, I'm thinking we're gonna have a shorter regular episode and a longer mini-sode.
Okay.
By the end of tonight. That's kind of my goal.
Well, if we could finish by like 9:30.
We can totally do it.
That's totally on you guys. So, all right, so ready to start when you guys are.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka 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 Part 2 of a 2-part series where we watched Food Wars, and now we're watching the second part. We're still in the first season, but we watched the second half of it. We watched episodes 13 through 24. If you haven't watched with us so far, you might want to go back to our first episode, kind of catch up. But otherwise, if this is your first time, we're a podcast that talks about anime that we watch every 2 weeks. We pretend we're a book club, but we don't actually read anything.
Nor is this intellectual.
No way whatsoever.
Very little.
My name is Troy, and I'm glad you pressed play. I'm not quite sure why you did, but hey, Whatever. To talk about this anime, I need to introduce my fellow co-hosts. First off, we have the peanut butter to my jelly, Jeremy. What you been up to?
I've been playing Hard West. You guys heard of that game?
It sounds like me every day.
Oh! You know,
No.
the three of us are the only ones that are going to get that.
I know.
But I have seen West of Loathing, which is a hilarious game.
Yes, that looks really good. I haven't got a chance to play it, but I've heard some awesome things about how they even have like there's a trait you can get that I think it's called Bad Walker or something like that.
Silly Walk.
Silly Walk, yeah. So you're like you tumble around everywhere you walk. Yeah, it's just really funny. But Hard West, on the other hand, is kind of it's a little bit of a almost an XCOM-y kind of game. It's tactical, but it's very much Hard West. You got a little bit of steampunk, especially when it comes to how the gun designs are. Really, really cool.
This sounds like it's hitting every single one of your checkboxes of perfect game. A little steampunk, a little XCOM, a little tactical.
It's super atmospheric too. Like there's a lot of occultic stuff going on, and so there's like the devil is actually essentially setting things up, and you're kind of playing into his plans and working against him, and it's really, really cool. I beat it. At least the main campaign. I still have to go back and play the expansion, but I definitely recommend it. It's a fun game.
Nice. So we also have the pickles to my caramel. Jason, how you been?
What?
Yeah, it's disgusting. Don't worry about it.
Oh, so that's how this relationship is going.
I thought it was like a secret delight or something.
Is this your first episode of the podcast?
I'm sick as a dog tonight, so if I sound a little different to our viewers or listeners, apologize.
You just casted sexy no jutsu on your voice.
My chakra's low though. No, I've been deep into 7 Days to Die again, and I got bored with my base because there wasn't a lot of challenge. So I was like, I could raise difficulty, or now I'm going back through it from day one, and my only rule is no base.
Oh,
yeah. So right now I'm like day 4, day 5, and I have not found as much ammo as I really need.
Oh, geez.
So it's gonna get to a point where I find this precarious spot, try and run out of ammo, and then they're just gonna knock down the building or whatever I'm in, and then they're just gonna eat me. So we'll see how it goes.
You know, our fan base might kill me over this, but you guys, when you play games like this in RimWorld, and there's these super cinematic moments that these horrible games actually create, you should clip them somehow and put them on our blog.
That's actually pretty good.
Like you're watching you die to zombies. I'd press play. I'm a view.
Yeah.
Actually, Troy nearly punched me through text when I sent him a RimWorld comic that had too much of the fields.
Yep.
I have no idea what that meant. I was looking at I read it. I read a bunch of the comments. I'm like, I have no idea what any of this means. I was so lost. But that's okay. That's okay. Nope, we're not getting into RimWorld.
I was so sad.
It was
guys, I did something awesome with my 2 weeks.
Oh, you saw RimWorld came out with a new version.
You are sick. I made the first meal from the first episode of Food Wars that we talked about on our last podcast. It's the roast pork just kidding, or roast pork gotcha, where you take a mashed potato mix with onions and mushrooms and you wrap it in bacon and then make a red wine sauce on top of it. Me and my daughter made it together. It took way too long. It was definitely not a 5-minute action scene, but I made something that I saw in anime, and that was really, really cool. I did find the recipe online for guys who had tried making it. I don't remember the website, but it's not like I figured it out on my own, just to be fair. But it was really good and really cool. The red wine sauce made the meal, though, for sure.
Did any clothes explode?
I ate it with my kids, so thank goodness no.
It's just a so-so.
Yeah. Oh, well. And so let's actually start talking about the second half of the first season of Food Wars. We watched, like I said, the 13th episode through the 24th episode, and we're going to now give our non-spoiler review of just that section. This is not a overall of a Food Wars. That'll definitely come at the end of this episode, as well with our contact information and ways you can message us. But for now, non-spoilery, 13 through 24. Go, guys. Nice. We are professionals.
That was totally intentional.
You could have named one of us to start. Anyway, I will go first.
It's been a year. You guys should have like a synergy of passing it back and forth by now.
I love the awkward silence on anime where it kind of deserves a little bit of an awkward silence. I think this one does. So
yeah, I was about to say, because I felt it fell off from the first 13. I felt the first 13 were really strong, and I didn't know why. And I was complaining to you guys because I started watching Dragon Ball Super. I told myself I wouldn't dive back in. Here I am, like an addict, saying I don't need any more.
Sorry, just to pause you. Rest in peace, Bulma's Japanese voice actress.
Yes,
I found that out. That was a big bummer.
Oh.
That was a really big bummer.
Go ahead. But, not to just super derail that, but I wanted to say something. So
yeah, no, I'm glad you did. But it's interesting because I felt this weird sense of shonen fatigue. Because there wasn't anything specific I didn't want to watch about Food Wars, but it was just the ongoing pressing on of the next episode to the next episode to the next. And like I said, because this side of the anime was not as strong as the first, or at least I felt it wasn't as strong, even though it had a bigger climax. It was more of the same, I guess, with some interesting twists and nice character relationships, but I didn't feel the stakes like I did in the first season, or the first half.
I wonder how much of that has to do with pacing. I mean, I don't know if the pacing was good or maybe lacking a little bit. We can get into it as we talk about it, I'm sure. But
how about this, Troy? Correct me if I'm wrong, but this overall arc, when they come back to school and they're going to do the their final battles, right? I'm not spoiling anything, but they're going through that final arc. Were they or were they not going to be kicked out if they didn't make the top? Because I didn't think they were. I think it was
they're not. You're not cooked out, but they of course lay the thing that if you bomb, since these are like major food critics, your name is going to have infamy for the rest of your life.
Right. So I didn't feel that sense of urgency or that sense of defeat with this side, which in the first side with the Camp from Hell, you did bad. You were out. You were gone. You were going home.
I have comments on that, but I feel like it's going to get into spoilers if I do, because I do want to comment.
Let's talk about it more later.
Yeah, when we get to the autumn elections, we definitely need to bring that up again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say to you is I'd say your challenge tonight, as we talk about it, is dividing what was fatigue and what was actually wrong,
right,
with Food Wars.
And fatigue specifically because you had two shonens going simultaneously.
Which I stopped DBZ Super, to be honest. I haven't watched it since I picked this back up. But I did have that feel of, okay, here we go, trudging into the next one because I need to. So, anyways, we'll dive into it more. But overall, it was good. I'm glad I watched it. I never thought I would say this on this show. In fact, I never thought we would watch this anime on this show.
We did. Okay, Jeremy, go ahead.
I thought it was good. I don't think it measures up to the first half, which is kind of sad because you'd expect that the second half should be better than the first half. But, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't that much worse than the first half. I'm sure we'll get into the details. But, yeah, I liked it. It was good. I think that the characters individually had more of a chance to shine than they did in the first half. A lot of the first half was establishing who Soma was and establishing what he could do. And I think in this one, a lot of the other characters kind of got established a little bit more themselves. We got a lot more history on some of them.
Mhm.
So that was kind of nice.
And it kind of felt like 6 episodes of preparing for the next season.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. The last 6 episodes.
Yeah.
There's definitely an awkward season end break. And if you're binging this and right now and you just started, you're not even going to notice because you're going to go into season 2 and the plot line going to carry over. But we definitely feel like we stopped in the middle of something. So that's something you got to be aware of. If you are watching, like if you rented or bought the first season only, right, and it came on DVD and you watched it all, you're going to end on a kind of a cliffhanger area.
I almost have a sense of bitterness that it ended there. Just a teeny tiny little bit.
And honestly, when I first picked this, I was wondering how that would affect things because we do have the very unique sensation of stopping when the season ends, where a lot of people would probably just go press play on the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I feel this half of this season, the highs are higher, but the lows are lower, and the biggest thing is I felt like it became a little more formulaic. It's getting into its rhythm, and you can kind of see that rhythm, and it kind of is like, okay, this is the episode where they're setting up the problem, and then here's the episode where they're beating the problem, and then repeat. Even in our show notes, you can see we kind of go 2 episode by 2 episode as these 2 episode arcs happen, set up problem, beat problem, and you just kind of get that might wear it down a little bit. But like I said, I actually thought the highs of this season were better than the highs of last season, for me.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, oh yeah, we got a new ending theme song. So let's go ahead and talk about it.
It was weird.
We got a new beginning theme song too. Yeah.
The new beginning one was pretty cool. The
song
song wasn't as great, I thought, but the animation was brilliant. I did like the animation of the opening.
Animating it like it's a battle shonen instead of a food shonen. And they, little spoiler, they keep doing that for the rest of the seasons. Like it just gets more and more action ridiculous and like powering up and flames and riding giant knives into the sky and blasting lasers at each other.
It knows what it is. I love that.
So I actually really enjoy that. The song from the first season, it was better. The ending, though, guys, we've been commenting on it for the entire time we've been watching this.
So right away, when I watched the first episode where that had changed, I sent both pictures that I'd snapped from the intro and from the outro, and I'm like, what is going on here in both of these cases? And in the second one where I'm like, what is with the creepiness? I couldn't really understand what she was saying there. Jason really cleared it up for me later. but just the pictures, like you've got this, you're watching, oh shoot, what's Ikumi? No,
it's
Ikumi.
Irina,
yeah.
And Hisako.
And her secretary, yeah. You're watching the two of them through binoculars and it's just, it's creepy. It's super voyeuristic.
So in the dub, in a couple of the episodes, they translated the lyrics, and I think it's meant to be being sung by the voyeur, and she's saying, "You're out of potatoes, Sanchan. You're out of such and such. You won't find that cool. There."
That's great. She's like thinking how to sabotage the secretary. That's funny. I like that.
I don't know if you guys got to a point where you started skipping the ending. I know I did a couple times. There is a payoff to this joke around like episode 22, where the effect, basically everything's not gross. Everything is white and clean. Which we'll get into. But okay, so I complained about this ending. Like, why is this side character? Like, she's a side character, 2 side characters, and she's getting her own ending theme song. And I'm like, I don't. Why is she such a focus? Well, it turns out for this one joke.
I missed it because I skipped it so I was complaining about this in the pre-show. Is that they've done it since episode 1. After the credits and after the credit song, there's this vital piece of like little information that if you miss, and they did it a couple times in the second half, you will lose context in later scenes, and I think I really don't like that.
I think I actually kind of like it a little bit. For me, it's like a dessert. You know that it's sitting there. You don't know what it's going to say, but you know that it's worth checking out. I always fast forward, except for the last, the first half of this Food Wars season. I watched it because I loved that outro. But in this one, yeah, I did. I fast forwarded it. But it actually got me chomping at the bit to see it. So, yeah.
A lot of it, I think, has to do with how easily you can fast forward to it. Yeah, if you're watching on your computer and you could just click, great. I watched a lot through the PlayStation VRV app, and that's not so easy to fast forward. So
I was watching on Crunchyroll, so it was like, bam.
Yeah, so I think that has to do with part of it. And I feel like it's them forcing us to watch their end credits, and for when someone makes something, I don't really mind them forcing me to watch their end credits so that they can have their credit of making it. My only big issue was like 2 times they didn't do it. So I sit through the end credits, I'm ready for the what is it, and they're like, okay, next episode. Wait, no. You told me there would be we hadn't
next time on Food Wars.
Yeah. Okay, we should move into our actual story. So from here on out, spoilers for episodes 13 through 24, and definitely for everything before it. Again, I hope you listened or at least have watched the first part, because we'll probably reference it a couple times. Food Wars picks up where we left off. Soma and Megumi barely survived their Shokugeki with the alumni, and he's got a bruised ego about this. So you guys can see on our show notes what characters I plan to talk about, but I didn't pull out like Soma and Megumi and some of the main characters. Is there anything you want to say about their evolutions through this second arc before we move on?
Go ahead, Jeremy, because I do have some thoughts.
Okay. I was going to say I think that Megumi especially changes a lot through this. I know you mentioned it a little bit in the pre-show, but this was one of the things that when you mentioned it, reminded me how much I enjoyed it. That she really grows into a character that's standing on her own 2 feet and trying to work with her own strengths. And in the same way that Soma's able to access all of his old knowledge and the things that he's learned, she kind of does the same thing. And that's not something that you would expect or see from her the way she was presented throughout the first half of the season. So it was actually really cool to see her develop. And then there was one other character that I thought changed so much, and that is Irina. That's how you say her name, right? Yeah. I always have trouble with her name. Yeah, the big blonde. Oh, she changed at the end. She changed a lot. Yeah, and I actually really liked it. Going back to the Taming of the Shrew that I mentioned from last time, this was where she's starting to realize, oh my God, I have been a total jerk. And she's starting to question some of the ways that she behaved before. That was really cool to see. They didn't have to do that. It's nice that they did.
I also like that they're starting to open up her backstory, which kind of explains why she is what she is. But the reveal of who her mentor and idol is pretty great.
Yeah.
For me, I like that this season is Soma getting his butt kicked over and over again.
Yeah.
We talked about how he was a little over cocky. He was what do you call an overdog, right? He's always the best around, and then suddenly he's not. It clearly is lacking in a lot of things, and is trying to fight to catch up to other people. And I like that flip through this season for him. And Megumi, look, I think Erina is best girl, especially where I am in season 3. She is best girl. And Megumi, I usually don't care for, but this arc that she goes through, I actually even got emotional about it. Good for Megumi.
You nailed it for me. You just helped me discover why I was getting shonen fatigue with this. Soma, we mentioned it before. Soma's a reflection of Goku. It's that same, I'm beat, I need to be tenacious to push through so I can win in the end.
Right. Well, just like every shonen, Naruto, they all do it.
That's it. Yeah. That was it. God. Anyway, yeah. It's because I was watching Super. I went into this, and here's another main character that's down on his skills, and he's getting better because he's tenacious, and he's going to win out in the end because he's the main character. I missed that character building with Erina, so that's interesting. I'd like to go back and actually check that out. But I did like Megumi's battle, specifically her ending battle. That was really fun to see. I didn't get emotional or choked up about it, but I was like, yeah, I found myself rooting for her more than any other character.
Yeah. I think they definitely set her up better.
Side note, I was upset that with the lack of Takumi.
They even had shots where his hand was the only thing in the picture.
Like he was set up to be this perfect reflection of Vegeta, and then all of a sudden he's just off to the wayside, and he just kind of shows up.
Oh, the older Aldini brother.
Yeah, and he just shows up from scene to scene, and it's like there's 10 minutes where it's like all of a sudden he's making this fantastic thing, he presents it, and then he's gone again. It's like, okay.
I'll say this. I think the biggest weakness of Food Wars is that they try to build every character into a rival of Soma, and yet each one gets like higher tier. So it means the old rivals aren't rivals anymore. They're just guys who are, man, I wish I was as strong as you.
Yeah. They become less interesting, less formidable. But I kind of liked the direction that they went with him. I know that last time he was your favorite character because of that interesting relationship that he had with the protagonist. And this time, he kind of became sort of a sillier joke version of that.
Yes.
Like they really capitalized on him. They had more situations as far as ratio goes where it was just a joke. Him trying to
constantly, I'm gonna beat you, I'm gonna beat you, I'm gonna beat, and then no payoff.
Yeah,
it's just a stupid joke.
Yep.
And Troy's banner's gone.
That was great.
We've reached that part of the podcast where my computer hates me. Yay! Man, there is something I want to tell you about season 3, but I can't yet.
Okay.
I do intend to watch, so yeah, you'll tell me soon.
Yeah. So basically, they go through more challenges. Things are going about normal, and after a big day of cooking challenges, like they have been at this food camp from hell they've been at, Dojima makes an announcement. He's like, "Hey, tomorrow morning, you guys all have to serve a special egg breakfast." And you can go to bed or you can go figure out what you're going to make. It's up to you. But there's a big challenge in the morning. And these kids are exhausted from cooking all day, but now they have to stay up all night and develop competitive recipes because they are going to be battling each other the next day with these egg recipes.
I actually really did like the surprise of the judges.
Who was the judges? Yeah,
that was actually a neat surprise.
So really cool. Basically, the competition is you have to serve 200 plates in a buffet style where every student has their own buffet area to serve in this big banquet hall, and they bring in all the farmers and their families and all the hotel workers and their families to come in and eat for free because of all the work they do for this academy, which I thought actually was like a pretty cool twist. And then having the kids in there. I was a little worried when they started. The kids eat some of the food.
Yeah, I was too. I was like, where are you going with this?
But no, they kept it good. Before the battle starts, though, we meet first through Erina meets them, and then Soma meets them. We meet Alice and Rio. Alice is an albino girl who is a cousin of Erina, and Rio is her assistant that she carries around with her. Jason said yawn, but I'm gonna let Jeremy start.
I got a kick out of these two characters together. Individually, like their cooking styles are interesting, especially because like Alice has this really scientific approach where she wants to make everything the sort of modern art food, which I didn't find it. Like if I could choose a cooking style, that's the farthest from the one that I would choose. But it was really entertaining to see, what she would come up with. It really was an art to watch. It was really cool.
I don't know if I drink a milkshake out of an egg, no matter how good it tasted.
Yeah, her approaches were really, really unorthodox, and I kind of like that. But what entertained me the most was the behavior between the two characters. Like Rio himself is like this straight guy who has no personality and doesn't care about anything. But then when he's gonna cook, he puts his headband on and he goes berserk, and he becomes like you mentioned in the pre-show, the berserker of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And Alice is not intimidated or frightened by him at all. In fact, he's almost an incompetent to her, and yet he's her buddy, and she's always, I don't know, kind of berating him, but needs him. It was a really cool relationship that the two of them had. So.
Especially since Alice is doing this to mimic her cousin and her aid.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, do this thing for me. And he's like, yeah, well, I don't care.
Yeah. Yep.
Jason, why so blah for you?
I didn't find okay. The first time we meet these two, I actually thought they were fairly interesting. The problem is that the writers didn't do anything with them. They made the gag, they set up the relationship, and nothing changed about it every single time we saw them. I thought her approach to cooking was interesting, and it was a nice dynamic to throw in with all the different styles, because it's, one person amazing with flavors, one person's amazing with smells, and she does amazing looking stuff that when you get close, it's actually something completely different.
Well, even though it looks science. Her thing is science.
Right.
She's the scientist of the group.
Which I got really, really tired of them doing some sort of weird magic girl transformation with them, and then putting some sort of label on them.
Oh, I love
really?
That.
I loved that.
Yeah. It was getting so
that was great.
So like writing them down and okay, but that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, so I thought they were interesting. I just wish that there was more danger to them, because they were trying to present themselves as a dangerous couple that was going to come upset the current status quo of the current characters. And all they did is they were really good cooks. They were competitive to the rest of them, but they didn't do anything.
Dude, they're Team Rocket, man. They're Team Rocket.
Okay, so here's another one where I'm a little benefited from the future, but I'm in the middle of you guys. Alice, I do find blah. I find her scientific cooking not nearly as interesting as everyone else's discovery of flavor and stuff like that. And she's just an Arena wannabe. I think there's more to develop there between her and her cousin and their backstory, but right now I've never found her interesting. Rio, on the other hand, I find very interesting. Here's a guy who follows the girl around like a dog. He's just sullen and quiet and shy, and then he puts on that bandana when he cooks, and he's a monster.
Nuts.
And I like that in this shonen anime aspect, we have our hero, we have a very clear contender for their top, and then they're adding this wild card, this guy who's as good as both of them, and we haven't even seen his best effort yet because he mentions when he cooks, I guess I should try harder. And because he's this berserker cook, he could end up doing anything or being anything. And I find him interesting. I love the two sides of his personality, but I also know his backstory. And how him and Alice, why they hang out together. So I might get the bonus of that.
Yeah, the Dr. Lame, Mr. Hyde transformation he does. I don't know. During the competition itself, the ending competition, it felt a little bit much. It was like they were trying to push it in your face a little too hard.
He's over the top, but I think with the other two top contenders, I think it's, like I said, it's a nice wild card. It's an extra thing that I wouldn't expect.
Because I don't know how either A, to fix it, or B, how else to go about doing it. I don't know. Maybe it was just too much.
Yeah, I think everything about this anime is supposed to be over the top. So I don't know. If you were to try to make it more subtle, it might ruin the combination of flavors that make up the anime. Yeah, you'd miss it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
You okay, Trey?
The cat just wants to go outside, and the door's open. Just go outside, cat.
No.
It was just the look on your face was just
God,
priceless.
he's like scratching at it. Like, should I go? I don't know what I. Oh, he's gone. Okay, I'm so sorry. So one problem with the recap of Food Wars is a lot of time is spent just explaining the meals that are presented. We actually don't see a lot of the cooking anymore. That's actually got pushed to the wayside. You get a few quick glances, maybe a few comments, but the shonen battle comes in the presentation and the tasting of the food. So we see like Megumi, who makes a nice one few bite dish with like little quail eggs and small vegetables and is loved by the judges. We see the Aldini boy make a salad with eggs, and but Soma ends up next to Arena, and this is the first time they've cooked side by side, and she mocks him when he mentions, "Hey, I'm making omelet souffles," and she's like, "Ha, awesome, good for you." And not only does she cook the pants off him, she wins the whole thing. She outsells everyone. She probably would have been competed with by Alice herself if it hadn't been for a lack of ingredients. She ran out of supplies. But we see like why she's in the Toski top 10, right? Meanwhile, Soma, his souffles are dying because he's used to diner cooking where you bring out the plate to your customer and you set it down in front of them and they eat it fresh. He's never done buffet cooking where you had to put out your food. It has to sit there for a while and still be delicious and appealing for someone walking by. So his souffles are sinking and going flat. And by the end of the episode, while other people are starting to pass, even Megumi gets finished. He's only had 10 plates of the 200 he needs taken. And then we go into the second episode, and he has to perform cook.
Yeah.
Right. He gets a little girl to come over and try it, a fresh one, and she brings over more customers as she's exclaiming how good it is, and then he starts speed cooking.
He puts on a show.
Yeah, right. Just basically, if you've ever been to like a Benihana's where they cook in front of you, and they talk about that style of cooking, but yeah, this is probably one of the most famous scenes from Food Wars. Anytime you'll see videos of Food Wars, you'll see the scene of Soma flipping 20 souffles in pans at the same time and then catching them on plates. Any thoughts on this cooking scene? I thought it was pretty cool.
I really liked it. I liked everything that led up to it and also the scene itself. There was a sense of beforehand we were seeing their ability to cook be tested and maybe gather ingredients here and there, things like that. But in this whole test was you're surprised. You have the responsibilities of an adult who is expected to come up with a recipe by a deadline and then expected to deal with whatever unforeseen consequences might come up because of your choice and still succeed. And seeing that ingenuity, I did not expect him to use live action cooking as his answer to the problem. And it was really cool. I really liked what they did.
Actually, I actually like this one too because it was right off the back of the arc of the Camp from Hell. It's kind of their final challenge, and well, we don't know it is yet, but it gave a real sense of urgency because he only had 30 minutes left by the time he was like, okay, I'm going to put this plan into action, and everyone was like, you're not serving 190 plates in half an hour. It's just not going to happen, and so like you're watching him go against the clock, you're watching him try to put on a show, and it's interesting because the Doma or Dojima and his crony are like talking about how every time he does a line of pans, he gets just a bit faster. Mm-hmm. He's correcting his critique or his technique on the fly. He's finding tiny shortcuts to get that next plate out as fast as possible. And that was cool to watch, that kind of character building of Soma in that moment of intense, like, you're almost out of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's also an interesting thing they do because, like, where Arena is excelling at this challenge and is blowing everyone away, I mean, he basically comes in last here, but with a huge handicap. So we, the audience, are like, yeah, he nailed it. Well, Arena especially, but a few of the judges are like, yeah, he barely made it through that. Is he really as good as we all think he is? Because it's kind of almost a loss for him.
Right.
And like I said, I like this season as the season where he gets his butt kicked. I mean, he just came off a loss and then has this huge setback and a huge failure. Yeah, they talk about it and it comes back up later. Arena's like, yeah, you failed today. And he's like, yeah, but I'm going to learn from my failure. She's like, you don't learn from failure. You're a loser.
Wow.
I mean, that's basically what she tells him, right?
Oh, it is. Yeah, that's exactly what she says. I'm just astonished. Like, it's amazing.
It's also nice that this comes back up later, which we will get to. I even forgot that happened, and when it does happen, and like we talked about with her character arc, it's a nice moment.
Mm-hmm.
After they get through this, and I think a few more other stuff, they get invited back for another announcement, and they're told, okay, one last challenge, you have to eat our food. And all the alumni cook for them, and it's the best food ever because these are literally the top chefs. We find out the guy the Shokugeki guy they went up against, I forget his name now, pink hair, king of beans, a wizard of beans,
Wizard of Beans,
Lagoon magician,
former number one of Tatsuki. He was top tier.
We find out that Dojima was also number one.
Dojima was also a number one, which we're going to get the next arc.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on.
Meaning someone beat someone. Well, you find out in that hall, you see both their faces up there. So you're like, oh, someone beat someone.
That's true. I wish I still had my my name on the YouTube video because there was a sexy man there. As they leave to go back to the school, things happen. Soma and Arena end up both missing the bus. He forgets his scarf. She forgets her book with a picture of her mentor. And they have to share a car ride back to the school. I love their interactions together. I get a huge kick out of it. There's a reason I ship these two. And just he's trying to like just be casual and be cool. He barely cares, and she is so frustrated and so annoyed. I love because she has that, high, I'm the best. Watching him easily get under her skin is pretty satisfying.
Yep. In the end, his decision is just to sleep the rest of the way, and even that is offensive. Yep.
But yeah, we see the picture in her book, which is a picture of Soma's father, Joichiro, her mentor. Is literally his father, and she doesn't know that. That's another thing I love.
Yeah. Yep.
It's interesting that he comes up because, hey, he shows up in Japan to see his son, and right around the same time, Soma is arriving back at the Polar Star dormitory with all his friends. His father's there to visit, and we learn a lot about his father in this next episode. He cooks for all the Polar Star students, and we figure out he made Polar Star dormitory. Like literally, his cooking and Dojima's cooking are completely responsible for everything this dormitory has. Dojima was number one, and Joichiro was number two. Let's talk about Joichiro because I really liked what they did with these two episodes.
I actually was still into the story at this point. I really liked that. Not only did he go to the school, but he was really great, but that he didn't graduate.
He didn't graduate.
Which I think is hilarious. But also like all the backstory stuff where it's younger him interacting is so great because he's just so cavalier, but yet so indifferent. And that's kind of how Soma is most of the time, is that indifference. He cares about people and he wants people to succeed, but he just, when it comes to, people coming at him, he's just indifferent to it. But he immediately, soon as someone walks in the door, he's like, we're food battling.
He treats it so casually too. He's like, hey, go grab your apron and your knives. We're going to make something. Okay, Dad, wait a minute. Why are you here?
Yeah. Yep.
Jeremy, your thoughts on the dad?
I thought the character was great. Well, I think that he's got that same sort of attitude as Soma. I also wonder how much of it is aloofness and how much of it is him actually trying to present circumstances intelligently while seeming like he's not responsible for them. For instance, there's a point later where he tells Soma, or he leaves a message with him, go seek out the help from this other alumni. I always used to look after her. She'll look after you, I'm sure. This is a deliberate trap. Either that or he is so aloof as to think that what he was doing was totally okay and she loved him for it. Which I don't know. It's really hard to tell.
You could see it either way, couldn't you?
I can. I can totally see him being he's traveled the world. He's incredibly experienced, both as a chef and as a human being. The things that he must have seen and the places that he's been. So for him to still be that aloof about his own behavior and his own relationships with people, I find hard to believe. So I kind of want to give him the benefit of the doubt as someone who is trying to manipulate things to appear a certain way and yet get his son in certain circumstances to become better than him for whatever his own personal reasons might be. So I really like this character. He's kind of an enigma to me at this moment.
Right. On purpose, right? Even Soma admits, I know nothing about my dad. Like, I talked to him all night about his school life, and I still know nothing about this man. I really like this part where they tie Soma into the school. It wasn't just, hey, go to this random school, I heard it's good. It's I have a history here, and that dormitory you're in is the one I built. You're even in my room. Like, it creates this emotional connection to the school that wasn't formerly there.
I was staying on the floor when I was cooking.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, because mine will come after.
Oh, I was gonna say I did think it was really weird how there were different things that changed the way his dad would behave. So, for instance, Soma asked him, why don't you come sleep in my room? And he's like, all right, sure. He'd agreed. And then he said, what room number? And when he found out it was his old room, he changed his mind and didn't want to go there. That seems to imply to me that that isn't a place he wants to be, or that he wants his son to follow in his footsteps and no one ever stayed in his room. I don't know what exactly it means, but it was just a strange 180 pivot.
It was an odd scene, and it felt significant without being overt. And I'm not sure, but it didn't seem that there was a payoff this season for it.
Yeah, I liked it though. That's the weird thing. Is I was like, oh, you're telling me something.
The lore of Dojima and Joichiro and other top 10 members from that time is definitely tied into the overall lore of Food Wars. I can say that.
Which is so weird. I mean, we're talking about this like this lore matters, but they're just cooks. And I say that as like they're not battling to save the planet.
You obviously misunderstand that this school basically controls the food world.
Apparently.
Okay. I do have a question for you, because I'll just say I love Joichiro. He's awesome. But he's number 2, or was number 2 at his time at the school. But Fumio, specifically his old friend, calls out he used to lose a few times on purpose. And when he did Shokugekis, he would get a bee in his bonnet to make something disgusting and would just lose. Do you think he would have been number 1? And I honestly don't know. There's nothing I've read or seen that would answer this. So I'm just asking you guys what you...
I didn't get the impression that he lost on purpose, and I can see how you might have gotten that impression. The impression I got was that he was so nonchalant about it at the time that he would just come up with a recipe on the spot. I never got the impression that it was a recipe that he was testing out how disgusting his food was, at least from the flashbacks. So I'm not sure.
I guess I assume, based on the fact that it had the purple miasma around it, just like his other what they call the outlier meals.
Yeah,
I like that they get names.
Yeah. I missed the purple miasma on the flashback ones, but at least for the Shokugeki ones. But if it was there, that makes perfect sense.
Well, that's one of the main reasons June hated him, was because he would force feed her these terrible meals.
Yep.
I'm not sure if he would have been number 1. Because I honestly think Dojima at that time may have been a better cook, and thus why the guy with glasses that went to win the French award ended up number one because
Hmm.
he ended up being the best out of all of them.
Well, no, the different class.
Different
class.
generation.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were the same
No,
generation because
Dojima is his senpai. Like, I don't know if they went to Polar Star together. I don't know if he's like 1 year less, but
well, in his
Yeah.
flashback, I thought Dojima was in that group when he was saying goodbye. He was going to go to France and do amazing things. That flashback.
I'm pretty sure Dojima graduated number one,
Okay,
and so I think he's got to be maybe just his senior.
I thought they went to the same during the same time.
Yeah, I'm really confused because I remember him walking away when they were. I thought it was when they were graduating, but I wonder if he just didn't graduate as well. Or do you have to graduate to be an alumni? No, because his dad was called an alumni and he didn't.
But also, don't forget, this guy literally works for Totsuki. Like, he didn't even leave after he could have been around. So, I don't know actually. That hasn't been fully explored. I just noticed that Dojin was called number one. This guy was called number one. I assumed that they were different years, but maybe I'm wrong.
To be honest, I do think to your initial question, I do think he could have beat him if he had prepared, if he had really thought about it instead of just making something on the fly. Mm-hmm. I don't think he took it seriously enough in whatever Shokugekis that he lost. I bet you he probably could have won if he'd taken it more seriously.
Okay, you're right. So Dojima was in the 69th generation of the Totsuki Academy. Kojiro was in the 79th. So he's 10 years younger.
Jeez.
So just like Dojima's looking over Soma now and this young generation, he was looking out for them now. He's literally just stayed at Totsuki and
helped out.
Been this guiding hand, yeah.
So that means Dojima's like 38 years old, something like that.
Which makes sense because Joichiro has a high school age son. He's got to have a little age on him.
Right.
I guess the only thing I'll add to that, I think Joichiro got better after he left Tatsu because he world traveled, and that's where a lot of his skills have come from since. They mentioned that, like, oh man, you can taste the world cuisines, which comes up again in the next episode where he wakes up his son first thing in the morning and he says, "Come have a food battle with me." And
6 a.m.
They have to make a breakfast. They have to do it for Fumio, the head of the dormitory. Ishiki, man, I love Ishiki this season. The best guys. The end of this season when he goes to his third form and he rips off the apron from his naked body, but he still has a Speedo on. They're like, "Oh, it's his third form."
It's his third form. Oh, God, this
stupid.
character only had clothes, like full clothes, on in one scene. The rest of the time, he was always mostly nude.
And what's great is how used to it all the regular characters are, but as soon as new characters see it, they're like, "What is happening? Why is no one caring about this?"
Yep. Or sometimes you'll have like certain characters, like sometimes the girl characters will say, like when Joichiro showed up, they're like, "Why doesn't he care? He really was one of the top 10 seats. There's no other way he could handle this." They revere them so much. But yeah, no, it's great.
Actually, that was it's funny that you mentioned the girls because they were like so fawning over Joichiro, and then all of a sudden they turned to Soma. They're like, "Wait a second, that's his son."
Yes. Is he gonna grow up to be just like that?
As a fully straight man, Joichiro is very hot. I really chose his picture for my YouTube thing because he's like just got that wavy, smoldering hair.
YouTube says you know Troy.
We lost our monetization. Oh no.
Yeah.
The food battle they have, like I said, it's Megumi, Ishiki, and Fumio. They have to have the theme is an energizing, easygoing breakfast. Okay, so it has to be for someone who's been up all night or an old lady who can't handle a hearty breakfast. Soma makes a apple risotto, which everyone.
Sorry to cut you off, but it was really funny to watch Megumi just literally sleepwalk into the kitchen. They're like, "Oh, you're gonna be a judge." She's like, and all of a sudden she wakes up. She's like, "What am I doing?"
And then Joichiro he makes a ramen, and everyone's like, "Whoa, why would you make a ramen? That's way too hearty. That's not what we asked for." And then they try it, and it's actually a vegetarian ramen with super rare roots that he got from his world travels, and it's perfect. And he blows Soma out of the water. He wins 3-0, and Soma loses again for the second time this season, for this half of the season.
His 490th loss.
Yep.
And then they both start writing it down, and Megumi's like, wait a second, they write every single one of these down.
The best is how they introduce this when they're like, how many times have you lost? I don't remember. Oh, yeah, it's like 500. It's 499.
490, yeah. Yep.
And then they pull out their notebook. So he knows they know. Like, the ribbing at the beginning was pretty nice, and how that brought it back. And then Joichiro is like, okay, well, don't lose again till I get back. And this is inspiring for Soma, and a couple characters call that out, that he's really there to give him that pump up and just see how far he'd come, and he has come a long way. And then he gives them this message that, hey, air out the restaurant sometimes during the vacation.
And Troy's favorite episode arcs.
I don't even really want to talk about it that much. To me, this is a filler arc. I don't know for sure. We don't read mangas of the animes we watch because
there was very little building. There was very little world building, character story.
There's a lot of great stuff with Ikumi in this. A lot of great comedy beats with Ikumi. I really liked that her character was here, that she was the character chosen to go along with this filler. But the rest of it was really boring.
What about Soma's middle school friend? Who is
basically Megumi, and was replaced by Megumi when Megumi came into the story, and now came back. But she has all the same characteristics. Okay, so real quick, these two episodes are about a fried chicken battle. Karage.
Yeah.
And the fast food down at the mall is stealing all the customers from where their diner used to be, the shopping district. So Soma enters a battle with them and comes up with a wrap.
Yeah, the chicken's not as good, but because it's like portable and the college kids have to.
The thing about the fast food is, like, you order it to go and you have to take it home and you have to re-microwave it and reheat it, and then it's not as good. He's serving it fresh and portable, so you can eat it on the street straight out of the roll. That's the gist of this arc. I really there was no stakes there, and it ends up introducing another of the elite top 10, but
so actually there was a lot of holes that I saw with this. This was my favorite storytelling of the last half of the season.
It's so weird.
Just me. Well, I liked it because I liked the interaction, because I ship Soma and Ikumi.
The phone call when he calls her, that might be one of the best moments of the season.
Right. No, I can get. I mean, I'm super busy, way too busy, but I can probably find time. So you're not coming? No, I'm coming.
The fact that there's like he's inviting her over to his house alone, and she's got hearts behind her. Like, she's into this, like a lot.
Very clear.
And then to get,
but she's constantly denying it.
Yes.
Yep. No, so I like the interaction between the two. I like the relationship building that they did in this particular arc. But it left way too many holes. Like, okay, now that Selma's going back to school, what happens to the shopping district? Is it just going to dry up? Is someone else going to be doing the fried chicken? Are they going to do it as good as Selma?
They called that out.
No. I know the two. Well, she was going to do it part time, and then you had the lunchbox guy that was going to be doing it. But
right, and they were doing it from his place too. So he has all the supplies.
He doesn't do fried stuff. He doesn't do hot stuff, and
he just has to follow the recipe at this point.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
as long as he's following the recipe, I guess. Yeah, and then they just kind of drop it. They're just like, oh, okay, shopping district's healed, hooray!
It's classic filler where you have to introduce new stakes, but at the end of the filler arc, nothing can have changed for any of the characters.
Right.
And I don't see the point of it. I don't, like I said, I don't know if it's actually true filler, but it sure feels like filler to me.
I think it was an excuse to have a relationship building between Soma and Ikumi.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I also think and maybe this is just me, but I actually really liked being able to see this other character that we just saw in the first episode, and after that she was gone, and I never thought about her again. But seeing her be developed, even though she was remarkably like Megumi, so is June. Like they don't really show a lot of shame when it comes to reusing archetypes. So and I mean, well, saying that, I'm happy to also point out that a lot of the different children, well, young adults that are at the school, are very unique in their cooking approach and in some of their personalities. But I don't know, seeing that she was similar to Megumi didn't turn me off at all. It was very interesting to watch, especially seeing the behavior between her and Ikumi. Right? It's Ikumi, right?
Ikumi, yeah.
Ikumi. Yeah.
Or Meat Meat.
Or Nikumi or Meat Meat.
Meat. Yeah. Seeing
Stop calling me that.
Yeah, the way that the two of them would interact whenever there was a moment where they were alone or anything like that, it was good. So I don't know, it didn't bother me at all when they did this. It was an okay story arc for me, because I think in the end, this was something where, as far as Soma was concerned, there were stakes. You know, this was his shopping district. He didn't want it to dry up. Plus, that's where the shop is, and he intends to go back to that diner at this point in time.
That's his legacy.
Yeah, so if he has to go back to that place and it's all dried up, that's going to be horrible.
Yeah, no customers.
Yeah, no customers. He's going to have to start from scratch then. But it was also, I actually got a kick out of the lady, the Yakuza lady that was
the manager of what is it called?
Basically McDonald's.
Moizuya.
Yeah, McDonald's. She was really entertaining because she was clearly psychotic, and that was really nice to see that in this show, where for the most part, even though people might be eccentric, they never cross the line into psychotic. Except for maybe this one character we'll meet soon. But this lady was completely psychotic, so it was great. I actually really enjoyed the Karage arc.
Okay, I gotta take us on a quick tangent. Okay. Guys. You can ship Ikumi and Soma all you want. This anime has already told us Soma and Erina belong together. They will be together. This will happen.
Are you spoiling, or are you conjecturing?
I'm not spoiling. There's nothing that I even know plot wise where it has come together. But in the first 3 episodes, Soma's father says, find someone to cook for that you love. That's how you excel your cooking. And the next thing we see is Erina walking. It is clearly telling us Erina is the girl for you. You need to fall in love with her and cook for her, and your cooking
could be writing misdirection.
Megumi may be best girl, Ikumi may be hot as bae, but Erina is the chosen one, guys. You need to accept it.
Who did he call when he needed help? Who did he food battle into the club that he wanted to save?
From the other point of view, Erina, the only thing she ever thinks about is Soma.
It's true, even though it is mostly negative. She is always thinking about him.
He is always in her mind. As soon as
why is there always hearts over Ikumi when Soma comes around?
Ikumi loves Soma. I'm not disputing that. But okay. The chosen one of a relationship, a long-lasting relationship, is. And I feel that for the writers have decided Erina and Soma are.
I don't buy it.
Okay. When it happens, I will gloat gleefully in your face.
Well, since it hasn't, I will stick by my prediction.
Or has it? Because I don't want to spoil anything.
I have to say that sadly, from the evidence, I would have to agree with Troy. But
no, I do too, but I'm rejecting it anyways.
Okay, guys, every time we do this podcast, and even when we're not doing the podcast, anytime someone agrees with me, it comes with this qualifier of, look, I really hate saying this, and I feel nauseous, and I want to hurt myself, but I agree with Troy. What is that?
I'm not used to emotions, man. And I know to agree with you, it must be emotions.
Listen, look, it's purely personal. I mean, it's nothing personal.
Gosh, the only other thing that comes out of this is we meet that other top 10 who is a consultant for that business he went up against. He got fired halfway through, which is one of the reasons they lost, but he considers this an affront to him, and he wants revenge. And this is Eisen, who is known as the alchemist, and he says he doesn't care about cooking, he's about food business.
Yeah,
I don't know how you're in the top 10 if you can't cook.
well, obviously he can, because he's higher than Erina.
Right.
Just barely, but he's there. When I heard 9th, I was like, what does he even matter? We know Ichiki is the 7th. I don't even care about anybody below that. I don't know who the 3rd is.
He's obviously being set up as a pseudo bad guy here, and I thought he was really lame as a bad guy.
Okay.
I thought he fit the shonen bill for an early villain.
That's fair. Maybe he's a Piccolo.
Yeah, there you go.
I really hate to say this, and it hurts my genitalia really bad, but I agree with Jason on this.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Guys. Last episode that we did, I kept calling parallels to DBZ with these characters, and Troy's like, "Yep, that fits. Yep, that fits."
Yep. Dang it.
Because he's in the background for like the rest of this, but I don't feel like he's gonna. Eventually, he's got to matter, but I just don't feel like he does. So the autumn elections are showing. We actually get a cool scene of the top 10 meeting, and we only get to see the 3 we already know. But Aaron is like, "Yeah, so much should not be in this," and he's like, "He clearly should. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Why do you care so much? I don't care. You care. Shut up."
Shut up.
This is why I think that they did some really good writing through a lot of this show, both seasons. The interactions between the characters and the behaviors, the dialogue that they have is really believable. Thinking of their ages and their behaviors, like especially with Irina and how, he just calls her out on it, and she's got nothing she can say back. She doesn't go on this crazy monologue to try and justify her position or anything. She just gets blushy and is like,
"I'm not stupid, you're stupid."
Yeah. I'm like, that's a real person.
I do have a question about that meeting. Was it that they were hiding the other members, or is there only 3 or 4 of them?
They're hiding them.
Okay.
So in season 3, all 10 members have been revealed.
Okay.
And their personalities and how they factor into the story. But yeah, they're definitely they're keeping that a secret.
I would actually have preferred that twist you presented just now. That would have been really cool if secretly there's only 3 and they're like, we don't even claim the first 3 spots because we're not that good.
Well, I was wondering if there was like some sort of tiering system where, depending on how good you were, it would place you automatically.
You don't have to bother.
Well, no, like if a new, if the current 10 like leave the school to go, like, they graduate, and like you show that your cooking skill gets you to a particular level, they're like, "Okay, we're gonna offer you like the number 9 seat. We know you're not an 8 or a 7, but you definitely are the 9th."
That's interesting.
Because they put so much emphasis on this last arc and how you could possibly become one of the 10 from this battle that we're gonna get into. I was wondering, are all the other seats empty and they haven't met the standards yet? Like, but
it's better that they sit vacant than have someone who doesn't fill them right.
Okay, so the autumn elections get set. Are you beating a cat?
No, he won't leave me alone. Sorry. The cat's beating me.
Just put yourself on mute, except for when you're talking, till the cat's done with you.
Okay, cats, leave me. Get away from me.
Hey, you can pet your cat all you want. It's a little bit coming through. It's just every once in a while, smack.
It does sound like a smack. It's great.
Okay. I can do this. So the autumn elections then officially start. The groups are announced and who's in them. They were put into 2 separate groups. Basically, every first year from Polar Star gets put in. I didn't realize the 2 guys were not first years, but apparently they are second years because they are not part of this. So that was interesting. But yeah, they all get in, and then we get a bunch of new characters introduced, and then a bunch of the old characters are also factored in. And they find out that the theme is going to be curry.
Wait a second. I'm sorry. I got to cut you off, though. Are you talking about the two guys that really have no character development except that they're the same? When I was looking on Wikipedia for the names of Alice and Rio, because I couldn't remember, I ran across just a couple sentences about them, and it said that they survived the camp, which would imply that they were first years. But I don't recall. Did we see them at the camp?
Oh, were they just not good enough to get in? I thought they were first years. You're right, but though they were at the camp because didn't they want to party with everyone?
Yeah, you're right. That's right. I do remember seeing them because they were coming in with cards, which means so they just weren't as good as the rest.
They are just the lousiest cooks in Polar Star.
Polar Star. There we go.
The party guys. I mean, they have some good moments in the tournament, character-wise, but that's really interesting. Okay, so everyone but those two guys from Polar Star gets in, and then of course Ishiki can't, and Arena also can't because she's in the top 10, so she's automatically not. But her secretary gets in, and they announce that they're going to make curry, and everyone's like, well, isn't that just a really mundane? And they start talking about spices, and that's when someone's like, okay, I'm going to go talk to that teacher my dad recommended about spices.
I laughed out loud during this whole thing.
It was great.
So we meet her. Her name is Shiomi, and she is this young, tiny little woman who looks like a middle schooler, but she's actually a teacher there now, and she used to go to school with his dad, and she hates his dad. His dad used to torture her. The greatest when he's like, man, my dad used to torture his underclassmen, and then behind him, Megumi's like, you torture me.
Yes. No, doesn't he say Yukihara, and she just...
Yep.
Yeah, she just backs him.
Well, no, he doesn't say Yukihara because his name was changed to Yukihara. That's not.
He says that's right.
He says the real name.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. He's like, don't you know my dad, Jurichio?
Yep. And this is where we meet her assistant, who comes in to kind of play peacemaker between these two groups. And his name is Hayama. He is an Indian boy who has a nose for spice, and it excels his cooking to new levels. And he has been the assistant of this Shiomi, who is a cutting edge of spices in the food industry. And he's taking her science and applying it to food. So when I say he's top tier, he is top tier. And he explained, he gives this big lesson on how spices work. He makes 3 meals with the same spices prepared in different ways, and they have 3, eccentric tastes. And this becomes Soma's new rival, just instantly. Oh, hey, you, me, rivals. We're doing this.
So he's from India, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they did. In one of the end credit scenes, they show him meeting her in India. She's trying to buy spices from a guy in the market, and the market's guy trying to rip her off. And this little boy walks up and is like, "Nope, those are bad spices. You don't, they're cut with bad stuff, so you don't want to buy them."
Mm-hmm.
And she's kind of raised him since then, so they take care of each other, and you kind of get the sense that the power is more on his foot. He yells at her for not watering the plants and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
So we should talk about Hayama because he is an important character. What did you guys think of him?
I wish we would have met him a lot earlier. I thought he was a decent rival. But as we were talking about earlier, I think this show has a problem with who's my rival at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets muddy, and I don't like that about the show. But this character, I thought he was interesting. I liked his approach to not just cooking, but what did his title end up being? The master of scents or smells,
fragrance, or something like that.
Yeah, the prince of fragrance or something like that. God, those are getting irritating. But what do you think, Jeremy?
Strongly disagree.
So, the first time that I saw this character, which was in the early part of this week, he was holding what looked like a cigarette, but if you look at it, the end is swirly. It's obviously curled, and it's a piece of cinnamon. It's a cinnamon stick wrapped in white paper, and so I even sent a quick snapshot of that to Troy and Jason. I'm like, is that cinnamon? That looks like cinnamon. So I've been watching this character, and of course he's in the intro scene as well, and so I've been really curious. And when they finally showed him, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. I mean, he looks like he kicks some serious butt in that intro video where he's got like the stirring spoon covered in spice, and
it's a lightsaber of spice, guys.
A lightsaber of spice. That's
so
great.
Good.
Oh my god. So I'd been really looking forward to this character, and I think he. I think he lived up to it, because there was a sort of there's a self-awareness that this character has, where he knows his strengths, he knows his abilities. He's a little bit overconfident when facing Soma and other people, because this is his strongest suit. Curry, you couldn't have picked a better dish for him, and he knows it. So he's going into this a little bit cocky, but they did a really good job giving you that sensation that when things unfold the way that they do, and I don't want to spoil it yet because it's fun to just talk about it in line once we get there. He knows what happened, and Soma knows what happened. And this isn't exactly the same as what we had with the Italian brothers or anybody else that we've had as rivals so far. With most of them, they're just noisy loudmouths in one way or another, right? But this guy, he's got this intelligent self-awareness where he gets it, he keeps it to himself, and you can tell he's just mulling it over and he's planning out his next steps. And so I can really respect this guy, because he seems to be far more brutally intelligent than the other characters that I've seen.
So while I stand by what I said at the beginning, that there's too many rivals set up, and I do think in season 3 the reason comes through what they've been doing the past 2 seasons. But with this character especially, it's something that My Hero Academia does as well. I'm rooting for the hero to win, but you're creating side characters and rivals that are so interesting that I'm sad for them if they lose, and I'm happy for them if they win. They have legitimate good reasons to want to be the best. He is fighting for this professor who has been looked down upon by the rest of the committee for her wacky spice theories, right? And he's like, I'm going to take your science. I'm going to prove to the world it's right. And that's why I need to be the best. It isn't for himself. He is cooking for someone else. Something Soma needs to do. That's what his father said, right?
Yeah, nice catch.
And actually, yeah, that kind of comes out during the competition as well, when she's like, you need to come work for me.
Right. Yeah. I really like Hayama for that reason. He is not an evil villain, whereas I think like Rio is the chaotic evil character who's coming in with whacking lobsters with mallets. Hayama is like this white knight coming in. He's a good guy that you want to win just as much as you want someone to win. That creates a little bit more of intensity when they do battle.
Yeah.
So after learning this, summer vacation starts. All the contestants separate and go their own ways and try to figure out what they're going to do for their dish. Guys, I absolutely love what they did with the Aldini brothers. I love that the fat one got skinny.
Cool. Yeah.
It's so funny. In the summer, he just sweats all the fat off, and he's probably the best looking character in the
Someone's like, hey, look, we got a new kid.
Yeah. Yep.
And the fact that his eyes are now open and they're like this sparkling green.
Yeah. Yep. I thought the same thing. And all in 1 month. That's amazing.
Yep. Basically, Selma spends the time just studying spices, because they talk about all the different science of spices, which is really cool. And he's way behind in learning this stuff, so he's got to figure something out.
Right, because Takumi goes home, and he stays behind because he doesn't want to ride his brother's coattails.
Right. And he wants to beat his brother too. That's a big thing to prove his worth. Eventually, everybody comes back, and they separate into the group A and the group B, and they start their cooking. We basically finish the episode with the judges observing on their cooking, but there's nothing really special to call out unless you guys can think of something. We had the Queens of Curry, twin sisters, one in each group.
Jeremy.
They were the worst characters in the entire season. The two of them.
They were literally just bodacious babes.
Yes.
to show the foodgasms through.
Exactly. Like that was their sole reason to exist there.
However, the best scene is when the judges start arguing and they turn to the fifth guy and they say, "You're an extra. You don't even matter."
Yes. Yes, that was great.
That was pretty awesome self-awareness.
Yeah, it was. I do have to say, the twin sister that was not handing out points in Arena A.
Yeah.
I got to take it back a little bit. She did have a reason to exist because once she started giving out points, that was hysterical. Just her reaction to every dish that was just hitting her like a machine gun of deliciousness.
Wanted it to stop. Like, I'm still recovering from the last dish. Don't give me another good one.
So that was funny.
And also, she's the one who wants to buy people. She's like, I will buy all of them. And Shiki, she's been trying to buy, is like, maybe you should just eat the food.
Yeah. Yep.
But we start off in Group B. Oh, Soma fell asleep cooking. That was how that episode ended. Then we go over to Group B. And it starts off with Megumi being bullied. There's a girl named Hyoko, who is the master of Chinese cooking, and she wanted to respect Megumi because she had won that Shokugeki, which she didn't, but she thinks she did. And then she's like, "Oh, you just have the man help you."
Yeah, I was like, "Oh man, where is this going?"
I know. I saw this character so disingenuous and just a prop.
Yeah.
She could, and what was disappointing is she could have been so much more. I found her character and her backstory interesting. I didn't like the fact that she was just, rah women's power, and then, oh, well, you can't cook for yourself. It felt very disingenuous, and I was hoping for more from this character.
It gave a rival to Megumi that I think she needed for this.
Megumi didn't need a rival because she fights herself. That's her character arc.
Okay.
Megumi may not have noticed, but I think it gave this character some development, and I don't see her leaving the picture anytime soon. After this.
Anyway, the point of what I was pointing out is Megumi pulls out a giant monkfish, and we find out that she had got the fisherman in her village to teach her how to butcher a monkfish because the old chef who used to do it for her family's inn got too old, and it used to be a performance piece, and so she learned it, and like it was brutal to learn how to do it, but she stayed with it, and she actually knows how to butcher this, and she butchers it perfectly on stage in front of everybody, which is pretty cool. And then people start presenting. Now, so set it up. There's 5 judges, 20 points possible each, so you can get a maximum score of 100. And kids are getting 30s and 40s, and their lives are being ruined left and right.
Real quick, though, I thought one thing I expected from the Megumi's monkfish thing, I thought it was going to be similar to Ikumi, where she cut out a slab. Megumi didn't just cut out a slab. She cleaned this entire thing, and it's almost as big as a tuna. Like, this thing is bigger than she is.
And she had so many parts from it on that tray when she pulls it away. Like, she's got the mouth still. And
yeah, no, it's perfectly deboned and just completely parted out. And so that was a surprise, because I thought she was just going to cut a fillet out of it, and I thought that was like difficult to cut a fillet from it. But to find out that she actually completely parted it out, that was fairly impressive to watch.
How long did they have to make these dishes?
3 hours.
3 hours. Okay, 3 hours. How much of that time did she have to spend gutting that fish? It must have been at least like an hour, 40 minutes.
Look, the 5-minute dish that Soma made in episode 1, I took 2 hours to make, so I can't even imagine.
And also, if she's been doing this for performance, I could see her doing it in 20-25 minutes.
20-25, I suppose so.
It's really hard to recap this, because basically what it is each character in this group comes up, presents, and then gets their points, and then we kind of get like an explanation of their cooking style, and this is like the first time, especially for the Polar Star students, we're really getting to see more of their personality and get someone caring about them.
Yeah, this is actually the part I was talking about when I said it was nice to see some of the other characters shine.
Definitely, but it felt like a bunch of Krillin arcs.
Okay, so let's talk about that now. Because you had called out that there's not a lot of danger.
Stakes. Yeah,
Stakes.
And you mentioned that if you get a low score, it could ruin your career. Even though you're not kicked out of the school, but there's so many food critics there, like no one's going to hire you if you come out with a terrible dish.
But I will say this is standard shonen fare. There is always a tournament, and the reason they do that is to get power level testing without stakes. There's a first season of Dragon Ball. Goku and Krillin and Master Roshi go to a tournament, so we can realize that while Goku's gotten really strong, Master Roshi is still slightly stronger than him. Spoiler for season 1 of Dragon Ball. Sorry.
How dare you? Too soon?
And there's been a couple exceptions, but My Hero Academia just had a big tournament arc. None of the heroes could kill each other, but we still got to see, okay, what happens when this character versus this character, and it's just. It's to show these characters and their powers, so later when there are stakes, we don't have to take the time to explain how Neo cooks or how Hisako cooks. We do it now in a tournament format that is standard shonen fare. I agree with you that it's not. I complain to you guys all the time about tournaments. It is one of the worst shonen tropes, but it does serve a purpose.
I understand it serves a purpose, but at least
interesting
because it's not two characters actually battling, trying to land blows. It does come down to the flair of the judges, and unfortunately, I didn't find any of the judges to be interesting.
Okay, I think it's fair.
I don't know though. What about like in the Shokugekis? Were we interested in any of those judges?
Before the tournament?
Like
at the end of the last half, the alumni Shokugeki, I thought they were.
Yeah, I
cared more about those characters as judges.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
I do kind of see Jason's point. I
don't know. I kind of see it, but at the same time, I don't know. I saw it as just a way to showcase the abilities of these characters, like you're saying, and I actually really just enjoyed it for that purpose. Like if they hadn't done that, I would have been I think I would have wondered, well, what is so special about this character? They're nothing but personalities for me at that point. And so I don't know if I would have enjoyed the cast broadening out the way that it did.
Because I really enjoyed the blonde-haired girl from, or no, not blonde, Yuki's. I really enjoyed Yuki's dish.
Oh, her duck?
And
duck. Yeah.
And her presentation. And I did like Ryoko's.
Here's what I want to do, and I can tell you're doing it right now. I wanted you guys to look at the show notes because I don't want to recap each one of these one by one. The only one that really matters is Megumi's at the end, which I want to talk about. But you can see in Group B, here's all the characters who went before Megumi, and which ones do you guys want to call out and comment on?
See, and that's the big problem that I have with the tournament is it didn't matter because this was. It didn't matter. We're developing power levels, and we're going to show how, I haven't even seen the end of the tournament, and I know somehow Soma's going to pull it through. He's going to be tenacious, and he's going to do his magic, whatever.
But isn't that just shonen though? Like Goku's going to win. Like
absolutely, but at least
it doesn't mean it's not worth calling out. I agree with Jason. In the scope of these 12 episodes, especially in the scope of these 12 episodes, this doesn't matter. I do think for the overall lore of Food Wars and the world building, this is something we have to go through for the shonen trope, but it's still my least favorite trope of shonen.
Yeah.
My Hero Academia is the only one that I've really enjoyed.
Because what's interesting though is that like with Hisako's, with Ryoku's, with Yuki's, even Mikumi's, they spent a little more time with the prep part in the kitchen during the battle. As we progressed into the story, you could feel the clock ticking of the episodes coming to a close, and they started speeding it up.
Yeah, I think Food Wars is just moving away from the cooking part. It's like we can only show you stirring onions so many times before you get bored of it. So now they're trying to more focus on that, like I said, the presentation.
Right.
So let's call out from Group B, guys, your highlights. Mine definitely would be Nao and Hisako. Hisako feeding Nao the herbal
That was
medicine.
funny.
Nao makes the gross one. She's the one from the ending theme, and she makes slimy, but they're still delicious and smelly. And then Hisako gives her medicinal herb curry, and he heals all the judges. And then she gives it to Nao, and it turns her into
White Nao.
How do you say, guys? It made her white, and then I know what you mean, but you can't say that out loud.
No.
Right?
It turned her from evil to good. It turned her from
Right.
witch to.
And then at the ending theme of that episode, they're not in the black curry anymore. At the end, they're in the white, perfect curry, and she's the pretty Nao. Also, the fact that Nao now is obsessed with Hisako.
I love that.
Yeah.
That was great.
That was pretty great. Yeah, the only one I would call out from Group B again would be Yuki. I liked that presentation.
Yeah, I don't know. I really liked the Italian dishes, like just the way that they were prepared and how different they were, and that's curry. That was really fascinating.
Noodle curry sounded weird. Sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
Everything they've made sounds weird.
Yeah.
Spongy souffle eggs.
I can get behind that, but like, and I can even get behind the covered curry, like the pastry curry.
Yeah.
But noodle curry. I mean, I don't know.
Well, and when I heard Nao's nasty dish being called out, I recognized it from some of the shows that I've seen in the past that have gone into the fermentation techniques and how these, these fish that you leave dead for a really long time, and other things like that. It's just this horrible smells and flavors. I actually, I remember watching, I don't remember what show it was, but I watched the guy eat it, and he was trying so hard not to gag. It was so funny. So as soon as they called that out, I was like, she didn't. Oh, she didn't. Oh.
That's so funny. In your notes, you've got like Aldini Brothers, Italian, Hisako, medicine. Now, gross.
Yep. Alice is here too, and Alice makes some pretty weird cool curry.
Alice is here. I want to call out the Aldini Brothers though, especially Isami's moment where he pretends he gets a really high score, and then his older brother comes up, who he's always wanted to beat because he's always felt like the inferior chef, like he holds his brother back. His brother still beats him, and instead of being upset, he takes that moment just to be proud of his older brother. I really like that character, Brie. I really like that character. I mean, he's usually just a gag in the background of laughing at his overdramatic brother, and the fact that they gave him that character beat, I really appreciated.
I'd agree with that.
He became so much more complex. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you are right. Alice also presents.
Yep.
Her frozen spicy food,
which has like there is no bowl with anything in it. There's just a plate, and it's got little green juices smeared on it, and it's got like what looks like a piece of like lettuce or something curled up and over. And in the end, her dish was entirely about, you've got some spices and everything, but also the textures and the temperature that are going.
She flash froze stuff, and so it's like spicy ice cream.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and if you've ever had like those flash frozen fruits and things like that, they literally melt on your tongue. Like you put it in your mouth and it's just gone. So just a weird combo, something you wouldn't expect. And she was not happy she got 5 points off 100.
Right. She got the highest score ever. But yeah, she's upset she didn't get perfect. And then Megumi goes up, who's the opposite. I liked how a lot of this cooking was like, I went, and then here's my opposite right after me. Whereas Alice is calculated and cold, literally and figuratively. And then up comes Megumi with her hot pot.
I love that everybody forgot about her and they started calculating up.
They're picking who wins, and she's like, I haven't gone yet.
Yeah.
And then just the fisherman being there, and then everyone loving her food, and all the flashbacks of her like on the verge of failing and knowing how much she doubts herself. And then that moment of Shiki in the background being like, "This is your moment, we've all known what you were capable of, and now everyone else is going to get to see it, because so many people are even upset she's there. Like, why am I not there? She was
country bumpkin,
right?
Yeah,
failing.
And doesn't really this got me, guys. This is the second time I've watched this. I knew it was going to happen, and I kept thinking about it. I'm like, wow, why do I care this much? I don't even like Megumi.
I think what's nice about her character is every single character in this shonen goes for, okay, this is the thing, I'm gonna cook the best thing I can, or I'm gonna like engineer this thing to make it taste amazing. And Megumi's all, I'm gonna cook something I would want to eat. And I think that's what makes her endearing.
Well,
I'm gonna cook something good.
That's the whole theme of Food Wars, though. Really, it's elitism cooking versus common man cooking. Soma is diner cooking. She is home cooking.
Yeah. What would mom make?
And even now, Dini brothers, Rio, Hayama, these guys aren't the elites. The best are the ones who come from common backgrounds, and they're going up against the Alices, the Arinas, that are, we're the best, we're the elites, you can't touch us, and that's what Food Wars is about. And one of the reasons I love it so much.
It's her sincerity. Megumi is just so sincere about her approach all the time.
Group B, so the winners are Alice, Hisoko, Tamari?
Not Alice.
Yeah. No.
Oh, no, the winner. Yeah, winners. Yeah.
Alice, Hisako, Dini brother.
Hisako got booted out.
No, not Hiyoko, Hisako, the secretary.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
She got second.
Yeah, similar names, man.
Yeah. And then Megumi gets fourth, so they will go into the actual tournament. So let's now go over to Group A, where one judge, the Curry Queen, is giving zeros to everybody. Like, nothing is phasing her. And we start off with Rio, and we get to see his berserker rage, especially when he's like, I'm glad you ate it, hold on, and he puts on the bandana and goes crazy. He's like, now eat it like this.
He has to like find the bandana. I loved that. He's like awkwardly checking his pockets. Where is it? Oh, here it is. And he puts it on so slow.
And it's acting like he's looking for the secret ingredient. The secret ingredient's right there next to him, and he needs the bandana, or else he can't present it to them with any care.
Yep, I like
to slurp the lobster brain out.
God, that was so gross. Oh,
but it had to be with cognac.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Which wired? Never mind.
I guess they can cook with it. They're just not supposed to drink it, right?
So he gets 93 points, and then we're gonna do again Group A. Here's just kind of the extras that you can see on the list. Any ones you want to call out? For me, Ikumi. Going back to that old philosophy of the Dawn, it has to be a perfect bowl, and everything she learned from the first half of the season coming through. Yeah, that was a nice moment.
But I love it. What was great about that scene, though, is that she was hesitant about saying it. The complete meal has
balances. Yep.
Look, I do love Ikumi. I want her to have her happy ending. It's just not gonna.
And you know what her happy ending is?
It's going to be with the Dawn.
Soma. No, it's with Soma.
It's going to be with the Dawn guy. You know it.
And I did like Ryoko's malt.
It was really cool.
Yeah, that was cool. And then I did like her. What was her title? What did her title end up being?
The Lima Bean Queen or something like that.
Soybean.
That's right. Yeah, the soy master.
Guys, there was so much boob bouncing in this episode.
A little too much.
Kumi jumps into a girl's face, and like her boobs are on the screen, just bouncing in this girl's face for like 10 straight seconds.
Yeah,
and it's like completely unnecessary.
Well, no, because you know which woman it was. It was the judge.
Right.
That's the whole reason it was happening, is because the judge, like, that's her thing. And so having a Kumi jump in there and do that was like, in your face, judge, in your face, quite literally.
But then right after, they have Ryoko up on that platform where they're shaking her, and now she's bouncing.
And it looks close.
I literally just wrote boing, boing, boing.
Boing, boing. I loved Marui's dish.
Yes.
It was so cool. I mean, everything in it was just pure white. He had a poached egg on it, and it really, like I said, it showcased his abilities. Because before this, like you said, you wondered, what is he? What good is he?
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't have endurance, but he's got ability and he's got intelligence.
The fact
knowledge.
that he's been for the whole season this joke of this kid who's being drugged behind the rest of these guys. He's always exhausted. He's barely making it. They pick on him,
Yep.
and then he comes out and he ties with the smoke guy, who we had all assumed was like the second best in the house. And and just the fact that, like, we see his club and how much they revere him, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a mediocre chef, but I learned all the knowledge from the best, and I'm going to get up there."
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about smoked salt for a second? What? You can smoke salt?
Well, if you burn seaweed and then distill out the salt again from the water you mix it in with, I guess. I never checked to see if that's a real thing, but I bet it is.
Like when they said that he smoked everything, I thought he meant everything that was smokable, but apparently so is salt.
Apparently.
I love that. They were like, wait, something's tying it together. It's smoked salt.
That was great.
To be fair, if you left just the phrase out, something's tying this together, that could be almost any food tasting in this anime.
Mango chutney.
We're not there yet.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so then Hayame goes and he lets off a fragrance bomb.
God, that was amazing. Oh my God. It was such a joke because, like, it was Soma that busted the top of it because, of course, Hayama
they made each other dishes.
They made each other dishes.
Hey, I want you to taste mine, man. Yeah, I want you to taste mine to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Now let's kiss. No.
God. The show, I swear.
No, it took me back. It took me back to the first episode. Not so much the blatant
sexuality.
Sexualization, but just the ridiculousness of it. Because like when he opens it, like it looks like someone turned on like a fan, like an industrial fan on him, and like golden streaks of fragrance are flying past him and into the stadium, and like there's pulses of it. It's like, okay, we get it. It smells good.
It's his aura. It's his Dragon Ball Z aura. That's what it is. Everyone can feel him powering up. It's a spirit bomb.
Kaioken times fragrance.
Exactly.
He has the secret recipe of holy basil, which apparently is very rare in Japan, and it was because apparently it's a big deal.
Which he strikes at you as if he's holding a spear.
It wasn't so much that he used it; it was the quality of the holy basil, and
he used it to subdue it.
No. Being able to obtain it was the big deal.
Yeah.
Well,
because apparently not only does it not grow in Japan very well, but that he was able to get such high quality and such amounts of it, and that was all due to June.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But also the fact that it wasn't overwhelmed by the other ingredients, nor did it overwhelm the other ingredients. Like, I mean, that's just a natural part of cooking.
So he gets a 94, which puts him in the first place. It's important to note everyone from Group B now shows up. Like they're done. They run over. So someone's presenting.
I thought something horrible had happened because all of them come in and they're like panting and they're like, something terrible happened. I think they even said that line. And I'm like, did the stadium blow up? Like, did My Hero Academia show up? And like, what's going on? I don't know. And then I'm like, nope, this just picked up exactly where it left off. They just were excited.
So in one of the best shonen moments, someone's like, here's my dish. I made an omelet. Hold on just a second. Let me open it. Fragrance bomb.
Yes.
He sets off his own fragrance bomb.
Take two, he says.
Yep. And he's like, you had the same idea as me. Like, yes, I did. They could be shooting energy blasts at each other right now and just be like, you had the same energy as me. Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, the judges, as they eat this dish, are imagining them battle. Hayama has like the spear of holy basil, and Soma's coming in with flurry of combos and punches. And we see a quick fight.
So great. You finally get a fight in Food Wars. Yep.
I think my favorite part of that whole arc of Soma's cooking is him in front of the pot, passed out.
Right.
And like everyone's like, oh my God, he's asleep. And then like as soon as the fragrance hits his nose, he's like, he wakes up and he's like, perfect.
This is the time.
And he's like, yeah, sorry, man. I just didn't get enough sleep. You got balls of steel.
Exactly.
So inside the omelet is an apple risotto. And so he calls this his curry risotto omelet rice.
He just keeps like layering on whatever he made in the last competition.
Is this with the anthropomorphic apple, or was that with Megumi?
That was with Megumi. That was the morning with his dad.
I'm surprised we didn't call that out. Another freaking flash, like
the Prince of Apples.
Foodgasm of a freaking apple man. Anyways.
Tanya wants to see that part because I showed her the picture and she's like, I need the context. What is this?
No, Tanya, you don't.
Context
doesn't
help.
It doesn't matter in Food Wars.
It's interesting you call that out though, because it is they call this out. Irina, she notices this. She remember she told him, you can't learn from your failures. He took his last two failures from this half of the season. The omelet that failed and the risotto that didn't beat his dad, and he combined them because he refuses to be a failure. He's like, I will make these work.
Yeah. Not only did they make him work, but then he added curry ingredients to it.
Right.
Yeah.
And he gets a 93, so he's 1 point behind.
And then the judges start arguing.
Well, hold on. The crowd points out 3 of the 5 judges preferred his food, which means if it was a Shokugeki, he would have won. Right. But because it's score-based, he officially has lost, even though he's in the top 4, so he's going to go on.
This is what I meant, because you see it on Hayama's face. Hayama looks at the judges, he looks at the scores, and his face is not happy.
Right.
Which someone who won, he'd be happy.
It should be noted. So basically, the consensus is these dishes are basically equal. The judges can't even fully decide which one is better. Hayama is the king of curry. This is his specialty. And Soma comes in and almost ties him.
In 1 month from knowing nothing.
Right. Yeah. With who knows what dishes in the future of them having to compete against each other. So this is upsetting for both characters, and I kind of like that. I like that the main character didn't win, but really the other character didn't win either. They both take this away as a loss, and that they need to push each other harder.
Yeah,
I would feel better about it if we hadn't have just met
Hayama.
If he had been in it from the beginning,
or at least a little earlier. Like if we had met him at I think we did meet him at the Camp from Hell, but if he had more of an arc there, like we met him, he showed like a little bit of his skills, and then we had the rest of it, I think it would have been more impactful for me.
Mm-hmm.
The season ends then with Polar Star going back and celebrating. Everyone comes over. Ishiki reaches his 3rd form.
There was something that really stood out to me, and that was Yuki is standing down there giving Megumi congratulations. And Yuki is always the one that's so happy, and she's always got a smile, and I was watching her try to really celebrate for Megumi, and I'm like, are they doing what they think they're doing? Are they doing? And they totally did, and it was the perfect thing to do.
Fumio comes up and comforts her, and she turns around and she is crying and
just bawling her eyes out. And I was like, that's real. Once again, you have written something real into your silly parody. I'm so impressed with this dichotomy of parody and real.
And a character who's not even super developed, but we feel like we know her because of what they've shown such interesting aspects of her character. And so we know Yuki is the silly, upbeat one, and how hard she worked for that and still lost.
Yeah, they come to think of it, they also did something with Ryoko when she lost. She wasn't very happy either. When she saw her name get pushed out of the running, you saw it just for a little bit. It wasn't nearly as drastic as Yuki, but they did that with all the characters. They give them this extra layer that they didn't have to. and that's
Yeah,
really cool.
the whole celebration is actually bittersweet because most of these characters didn't win, and they're celebrating right next to the people who did, and so that it's a celebration slash, kind of mourning almost. Kumi's bummed out. She did really good, but she would have liked to won. And then wait, why is there a naked guy walking around this store?
Yes.
No, yeah, it is interesting to see these Krillins. It's different.
Hey, one of them's got to be a Yamcha.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
They'd be
yeah,
the two guys with no character development.
right.
They should be
Yeah.
Yamcha.
Yes.
So would Ikumi be Tien then?
Oh, I thought she was Piccolo.
No. That would be Takumi.
Oh, Takumi's Piccolo.
Well, no, he was supposed to be Vegeta, but he turned into a Piccolo.
Turned into Piccolo now.
It'll be interesting to see who's what by the end, for sure. There's more characters to meet in the upcoming tournament.
So Hayama and Jun must be Tien and Chaozu.
Chaozu.
Anyways, that wraps up our first season. Basically, Soma does the anime shonen I will get better.
Yeah, so we don't get to see the 4v4 tournament.
Right.
That's next season.
And I do have a little bit of an issue with that because
I have a big issue with it.
And especially, so I know the second season, that's half the season, and then there's another half. It's like, what? You should have just made the whole tournament one season. You could have planned this a little better.
How long was it after that? I mean, I don't imagine you might know this.
I don't know, and I've been wondering that too. Because, like I said, if you're streaming this now, this is not a big deal. You're pressing play. You're going on to the next episode. Who cares? Right. But yeah, if you had to wait 6 months, a year, from season one to season two,
I'd be pissed off if I had to wait 6 months to a year for this. Looking at it now, like with it available, I'm gonna go watch it, so it doesn't bother me. But that's the luxury of coming to the video later,
right?
So I would have to say if they had a big gap in time, that would definitely impact my recommendation of it.
I had to wait between season 2 and season 3, but it ended on a much better tie-in. But I don't know if there was a wait between 1 and 2. By the time I came across it, I came when 2 was almost done. So I just watched 1, watched most of 2, finished 2, waited for 3. So
check it out.
Let's go ahead and move on to our final reviews and wrap this up. Jason, what are you going to give it this time? What's your heart tell you?
Right, my heart says that this was not as strong. I didn't have a tie to the characters like I did in the first half. And I felt that it ended on a bad cliffhanger. This kind of cliffhanger, it irritates me with most shows I watch. It was still funny. It was still fun to watch the cooking, which is weird for me to say for an anime. So I'm going to give my review for the second half a 3. And because of how the arc finished, I'm going to give my whole experience of 1 through 24 a 3.
Okay. I like that. Jeremy, how about you?
So I still thoroughly enjoyed it. I found it funny. I liked the development of the characters. There's definitely things they could have done to improve it, definitely. But I also wonder how much of that is just the shonen tropes that you have to deal with in a shonen. They picked their genre when they decided to make it. Overall, I came away from it wanting to watch more. They definitely got me with the cliffhanger. Knowing that the second season is right here at my fingertips, I'm going to click on it. So I gave it a 4 before, and I can't quite give it that much. Maybe it's the fatigue you're talking about, Jason. I can't quite give it a 4. I'm going to give it a 3. And I did check just now, and it was a year. It was from September to July.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Between seasons 1 and 2 in 2015 to 2016. So, yes, I can imagine being there watching this and then having to wait, 11 months.
I might
10 months.
I might come back to this, but I know I'm not going to watch the second season right now or anytime soon. When I get that shonen itch, this will probably be one that I pick up if I'm done with DBZ.
Yeah, you got to do DBZ first, though, don't you? I know you're jumping back to that.
It's still
Do what I did. Just jump to the end tournament. The tournament going on right now is so fun.
No, I want to watch and also I'm waiting with the dub. I enjoy dub. I know for the elitists and the purists, that's sacrilege. But because I am a slow reader, when I read, I say the words in my head. I miss a lot of the visuals when I watch subs. So,
gotcha.
For everything we've talked about and everything I've said, especially the cliffhanger at the end.
Before you do, you need to make really. I'm just saying, there's a caveat. You need to make sure that your score here does not include future episodes.
It doesn't.
Okay.
That's it for Baka Baka Baka. Thank you for joining us this week.
You son of a.
It's like they forget who edits.
I know.
These 12 episodes, I'm going to give a 3. But I want to say with a caveat, especially during the tournament part, I had a smile on my face the entire time. I smiled through the entire tournament. In some parts, I almost cried. It's a 3. It's standard shonen fare, but again, it's still very enjoyable. For the whole season, I wanted to point these out earlier, but I want to say it now. This shonen does something other shonens can't do. One, I can do what they're doing on the screen. I can't go Super Saiyan. I can't even kick. Like when I made the food someone made, I sucked at it. It still tasted good, but it took me forever. But I got to do what the heroes were doing, and that was really cool. And even if you're not gonna do it, the fact that you could, the fact that it's a possibility, the fact that what they're doing is interesting to your real world life is an interesting tie and makes this show way better. The other thing is there are no battles in this shonen anime. Not really. There's no punching. There's almost no spectacle that you expect from a shonen anime. So it has to do every other part of the shonen anime better to stay just as entertaining. It has to do the idealism because, and I stole this from a YouTuber named Mother's Basement who I watched on YouTube, and he was analyzing this, and when he mentioned that, I really stuck home because they're not battling. They have to do the setups, the emotional beats better because they don't have the fights to kind of cover up them if they do it bad. So I think it deserves more credit than it gets, and there's a reason Food Wars is in the top 5 animes every week on Crunchyroll when it's airing. It's right up there with Boruto's dad. So for the whole season, I want to give this 4 Bakas too, because I think it's very fun, very enjoyable. If it doesn't offend you, this is an anime worth watching.
How could it offend you?
There are some people who would see the foodgasms and find offense.
You know how rough it was to watch that first episode on the bus? Give me a break.
I forgot about how bad that could be.
There's just people who are more comfortable with, or aren't comfortable with that amount of sexuality.
Right.
Well, it was really funny because like Tanya asked me, well, do they do it to the guys too? I said, yeah, totally. She's like,
oh yeah, I don't think it's a sexist thing. The nakedest character is a dude, and he looks good naked. Good for him. Right. I don't think it's a sexist thing. I just think some people probably aren't comfortable with this much sexuality in their face like that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's fine. So that will wrap it up. If you would like to reach out to us, you can get us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast. You can send us an email, theanimebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found this podcast, and we will get back to you. We would love to hear your thoughts on Food Wars. You can even send me stuff on season 2 or season 3. Guys, season 3 is really cool. So we would love to hear your opinions. We have a very special minisode coming up about all these microtransactions that have been in the video game world, and we're going to try to give it a little bit of an anime twist as well. So I hope you guys want to hear that, and that will be next week. Other than that, our next anime is Princess Principal.
And Troy judged me on the title alone.
And the picture. There's 5 girls, and then it says Princess Principal, and I'm like, no, I don't want to hear about a princess who's a principal of a school. That sounds stupid. That's not what it's about, guys.
I honestly thought it was about like princesses in training, and yeah, this is
it's like a James Bond spy thriller about princess and these girls who go undercover
in like
with
1700s London.
yeah. So it definitely once I read about it and then looking at the picture and the name and I'm like, I had no idea what to expect from this anime, and that makes me excited. So that is what we are watching next. It's 12 episodes, and we will talk about that in 2 weeks. Then let's say goodbye.
Ikumi is Bay, shipped with Soma.
Glad you liked it.
Sayonara. Okay, I got Pete, and then we can get going on the next one.
Right. Me
All
too.
I might as well.
So much for getting it done faster.
There's a lot of content to cover.
I even was trying to fly us through the tournaments. Doesn't work.
We just won't let you.
I didn't let me either. Like there's just stuff I got hung up on. I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
We just are who we are, I guess.
Yeah. That's how it goes. Yeah.
Look, you're the one I worry about. Okay, it's just so you know, the reason I care so much at the time is you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. No, that was a really surprisingly good anime.
Okay, how much can I spoil you now?
Go ahead. Spoil me. I'm gonna watch the rest, and I don't care.
Season 3 has introduced the villain.
Okay.
And it's Erina's father, and he was number 3 in Joichiro's time, and he's come back and taken over the entire school. All these characters we're meeting are the good guys versus the top 10 who have sided with Erina's father, and Erina had to escape and come to Polar Dormitory to hide and is training them all to do battle for the school.
Okay, is Ishiki also bad?
Nope. So they said 6 of the 10 voted for him to take over the school. So the old man has been kicked out.
No.
And you found out the reason Soma was brought to the school, it was Joichiro's idea to save Erina because her father used to brainwash her as a child to throw away and disregard any dish that wasn't perfect and elite. And he used to force her to throw stuff in the garbage and brainwash her. And then the grandfather came in and was like, you are banished from our family and our house.
Oh my God.
And kicked him out. And then he's been trying to bring her back to normal. That's why she has a best friend secretary who's been trying to humanize her again. And the whole reason they wanted Soma to come was to humanize her.
So she's a victim of actual like God damn it, what's that called where they use the brainwashing?
Right. Yeah. He used to like lock her in a room and like have her eat food and then throw it in the garbage and call it trash. And that's
so
why
this isn't a god tongue that she has.
Well, no,
she had
the god tongue, but he was trying to elevate it and refine it for perfection.
Oh my God. He's like, no, your god tongue's wrong. That's not good.
So the old man takes Soma out after he's been ran out. He's like, please save my granddaughter. And Soma's like, I don't understand anything you're talking about. But I promised that the day I met her, I would make her like my food, and that's going to happen. And I'm just like, yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
And it's so stupid that they're gonna have like a real food war for the control of the school.
That's great. I thought that there would actually be combat, like when you mentioned that, fights have started, but it was a Bakugeki.
Yeah, they're gonna have to like Shokugeki across the whole school. But all these rivals are actually his team, and the real enemies are the Tatsuki top 10.
Oh my God, that's awesome! So basically, this team that we're seeing are being groomed to become a rival to the top 10. That's really, really high.
Right. That's why we're meeting these characters who are as good as him and better him. Is they're setting up his team.
Wow, because they have to unseat them.
Right.
That's really cool. I like that.
And
But they still have to stay in the school long enough to unseat them too, which means they're going to have to deal with probably sabotage attempts to try and get them evicted.
Right, because he's coming in. He's like anyone who's not highborn has to go.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I want to see that
just
now.
kicked it up a notch.
Holy crap.
What?
But it took it till everything about season 3.
It's not the same story, man.
Oh.
That's all I'll say.
Okay.
That is cool.
Talk about microtransactions.
Okay.
Yeah.
My dogs are snoring. That's perfect.
Destroy the worst. I love that that's the last thing.
I know. So great.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special mini-sode of Baka because we're talking about something controversial. We're going to get nasty comments. They're probably going to be aimed at me. Whoa. Come at me.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It'll probably all be from you and I, though, Jason.
Well, then it's just a normal day for me.
Yeah.
Hi guys, we are Baka. We normally talk about an anime that we watched over the past 2 weeks, but we do these mini-sodes every other week to talk about random topics, usually related to anime. This one a little less so. We want to weigh in on the very heavy topic of video game microtransactions that has been obsessed over by the internet over the past couple weeks, especially with releases like Call of Duty, Battlefront 2,
Shadows of War.
And so we are all gamers, if you can't tell when you listen to our intros.
Let me tell you a little bit about RimWorld.
Yeah. And so we wanted to weigh in. And to do that, I do have to let these guys talk this time. First off, we have the booster pack to my collectible card game. Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Is it Yu-Gi-Oh?
Oh, God. No. No, let's see. If it was a collectible card game, what would it be? I would have to pick the Elder Scrolls Online CCG. Not the online game, but like they actually do have an Elder Scrolls CCG.
Right.
I would pick that. I've never played it, but I just
Troy already fell asleep.
I know.
No.
Elder
what? I was gonna say my first collectible card game was the Star Wars one, which was really bad. The first Star Wars collectible card game, so bad.
I know that game. I still have a set.
My buddy got 4 Vaders.
Oh, jeez.
I had Son of Skywalker. It was my most proudest moment. And then I went to Magic the Gathering for a while, which is actually a pretty fun game.
I tried that. Yeah, it was pretty fun.
You want what have you been doing, or do you just want to get into this video game stuff?
So really, really quickly, I've been playing Invisible Ink, another tactical game, and I have to give it the highest recommendations. I know everybody's probably already played it.
I have heard good things.
Oh, it's really fun. Really, really fun.
Okay. Then we have the.
How am I going to be insulted this week?
DLC saddle to my Skyrim.
You son of a. You know, if I didn't know your mom, I would be really. Anyway.
I know.
All right.
I am proud of that one though.
that was good.
Well,
That's like
I was gonna talk about my experience with DBZ Super. Because I actually am enjoying it, even though.
Wait, hold on. I just want to point out the irony that every anime episode you talk about video game, but we're gonna talk about video games.
No. I was gonna talk about anime, because I found it interesting last week. I was talking about shonen fatigue, but I would like to tell you that RimWorld last week came out with a new. They turned from alpha to beta. And now they've got like tornadoes and orbital bombardment and
not even published yet.
New afflictions. Oh, it's so good. It's basically the PUBG of your stupid, meaningless Game of the Year award. Anyways.
Oh God!
Fantastic.
Started on that.
That is a different mini-sode.
Yeah.
A mini sandwich, and you are wrong, my friend.
Yes.
I only sent that just because I knew it would piss you off. There was
I
only
know.
one PC game on it. I didn't even care.
There was a whole Reddit forum about why PUBG should not have been in that list.
Okay, my name is Troy. I have been playing a lot of video games, but I think they're going to come up in the minisode. So I will tell you, I watched Baby Driver, which was great, and The Dark Tower, which was not. And that's about all I had to say about it.
Poor Dark Tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it, guys. Microtransactions, like I said, they've been taking the internet by storm, so much so that game companies are changing policies based on crowd reactions. We have been talking a lot about it because one of us buys a lot of games with microtransactions in it. And some of us were making political statements, and some of us were betraying those people. But in all seriousness, this is a big hot topic. We do play a lot of video games, so we wanted to weigh in. We're going to talk about microtransactions and loot boxes. I put on the list like the different types. There's cosmetic only. There's progression types. There's loot box types. There's loot box without microtransactions. Loot boxes with microtransactions. Where do you guys want to start?
I would love to start with this one. I am a huge supporter of game companies that not only treat their communities with decency, or even have their communities in mind, because there's lots of companies out there that just don't give a crap about who their community is. They just want money to roll in. But I also have a big issue with companies blatantly putting a product out there that they know is merely for the cash value. And EA got lucky, in my opinion, in getting a Star Wars title clinched with their first couple Battlefronts back in 2009, was it?
Right. I'm assuming they spent a lot of money to get it.
Right. So when it comes to microtransactions, I have two schools of thought. Either you're going to put a game up for a particular price, and that is the price for the game. If there are so WoW did it correctly. You still have to buy WoW. It's at a fairly reduced price, especially for their older content. And there's lots of stuff that do not allow you to get ahead of other players that you can buy for real money for convenience purposes.
Right, you can level up to current game level.
Right, and when you do, you get gear that's appropriate for your level to start getting into areas where you can start progressing in gear. So you're at the bottom of that top level. Anyways.
It's just so hey, I didn't want to play Mist of Pandaria. Can I skip those levels into the new content that looks good?
So my school of thought with microtransactions is you've got to pay your developers somehow, right? So either you're going to give a price for your game, and then you give the product to your customers, or you can go, hey, my game is free to play, and then here's the store that if you want to support us, please buy these items. They're not going to give you an advantage. They're not going to be tied with your progression. They're not even going to help you in any meaningful way. They're just going to look really cool. And also our artists, you can show appreciation for our artists that put out really cool products. An example would be League of Legends. Some of their skins are pieces of art, in my opinion. Like, they look really, really good. You don't need it to play the game. In fact, you don't even need it at all for anything, unless you want to support the developers and you think it looks really cool. I think that's an appropriate use of microtransactions.
I agree with that. There's actually the latest episode of Crate and Crowbar. I'll look up what number it is. They were talking about this very thing, and they made a really interesting point. I think it was Chris that brought up that it's almost as if the AAA companies have spawned a new sort of tier. And so EA and Activision, especially if you look at the two of them, they're so big they can maybe min and max the income and expenditures to be able to get their profits as high as possible. So, I'm not going to put it in the same such nice terms as he did, but I think that's really what's going on here. Is you have a situation where they're looking at, well, what do the charts say? How much can we get out of the general playing population, and how much can we get out of the whales? And versus a subscription fee versus any other type of long-term, long-tail income, nothing can really beat this. So let's make sure we pump in enough of this pay to win, and bam, we min-maxed our income. I agree with you that it should essentially just be cosmetics. It's basically what you're saying. I actually even have a little bit of issue with, even in general, when you have a competitive system and you have any kind of progression locked away in loot boxes, even if it's not something you can buy with real money, even if it's something you can buy with in-game currency, I actually think that's not necessarily the most fair either.
Having RNG as part of your progression, it's like, hey, good for you. You rolled that awesome gun. Good for you.
I think in game systems where the primary mode is single player, and there's like, with MMOs where you have like Destiny, or you have World of Warcraft, or any other MMO, right? Where outfitting your character and running them around and doing things is going to be a fun experience in and of itself. And it's not always necessarily that you're going up against other players in PvP that this equipment is going to shine. I think that that's totally fine and totally fair.
Like Path of Exile.
Exactly. If you're going to do some kind of like progression mechanics, whether it's microtransactions or not, if you're going to do it there, that's totally fine. I get that.
Yeah, because literally every item that drops is RNG.
Yeah.
Like literally everything.
Yeah, but if you're dealing with an entirely PvP game, this is really just the multiplayer arena that you're setting up here. I think that you're whether you have microtransactions involved or whether it's in-game currency, that RNG, or even if it's earned, because it is a combat environment between you and another player. If you're good enough to beat them already, and then you get some special gear as a bonus, as an award for being good enough to beat them, it just compounds your ability to beat them in the next match and makes it even harder for them to wind up getting any kind of equipment that would bring them up closer to the level to provide a challenge. So I think it kind of unbalances the system more.
Now, what if the... Let me clarify. Were you talking about RNG there, or just standard progression unlocking stuff?
Standard progression unlocking stuff within a multiplayer environment where it's PvP. So like, it wouldn't be applicable in a case of where it's Destiny, and you could be choosing to do PvP, or you could be saying, right, I want to go on this crazy raid adventure and do co-op or whatever.
When I play Call of Duty, I reached this level, I've now unlocked the new assault rifle.
Exactly.
What if they're not necessarily a better gun though?
How would you describe that?
Okay, so just so you know, everyone should know we've been talking about this almost for a week now.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of inside discussion. So I went to Call of Duty and I looked at the guns and their different progression levels and which ones were currently winning in the meta. It was the second submachine gun you unlock out of, I think there's 4 for each class. It was the third assault rifle and the second LMG and the second sniper rifle. So in Call of Duty, it's not every time you unlock you get a better gun. They actually tend to just be more specialized. Like, this has a higher rate of fire, but it's going to kick more. And so a higher skill player might be able to handle that and do more with it. But a meta evolves around the guns just like any game. And it's not necessarily the final gun is almost never the number one. They do work on gun balance, so the guns that are winning in the meta will change.
So that's different because that's closer to HOTS and League of Legends.
Mm-hmm.
Because
right,
you have different characters that people don't have access to because they haven't played enough to unlock those characters. Those characters aren't necessarily better, but they might be better for the meta.
Right. Now, they also have, like, I have to use this gun get a certain amount of kills with it, and then I'll unlock a grip for it, so now I can have slightly less recoil and stuff like that. There's all kinds of little stuff in Call of Duty. But I did go and double check those guns. None of the heavy meta were the number one guns. In fact, the assault rifle was the farthest one down. It was the second to last that's currently in the meta. And anytime someone shoots me with it, I tell them they're a punk for why are you playing meta, man?
So that's actually apples to apples with like League of Legends and Heroes of the Storm. That's apples to oranges with what Battlefield 2 was doing.
Well, now
Battlefront, Star Wars
Battlefront, yeah, Star Wars Battlefront.
One thing I'm really curious about is I had read, I would like to know how much you guys know about this, but the cards that you can boost up to like level 4, I had read that they do things like increase the speed of your turning in an X-Wing. So like at level 3, you could be a 20% boost. And at level 4, I read somebody said that it would be a 40%. I don't know how accurate that is, but that seems like a crazy bonus.
Or like with Boba Fett, while you're jumping, you are 50% more resilient to shots.
Right, and there's literal stuff like you have more health and your abilities cool down faster and stuff like that.
Those seem a bit weighted too strongly. Like I don't see like
also to have them RNG.
So yeah. I have been playing Star Wars Battlefront, but only for like 2 days as of the time of recording this.
Oh, hold on. So you bought the game?
Yeah, I did.
I gotta go.
The past week, that's all I've heard. And when they kill you, they do tell you what the other guy's cards are, and I'm sure that's a
tactic
wish you had these cards.
Yes,
yeah, for sure. But I mean, I'm doing just fine with no cards.
So what do you mean, just fine?
I'm getting about at the end of the score screen, based on how we do. My team's winning probably more than 50%. I'm getting about mid-tier.
What are you playing on? PlayStation or
PlayStation?
Okay, on PlayStation, how did you do in your other shooty game on PlayStation?
What do you mean, like Call of Duty?
Yeah, like how do you do?
Oh, that's hard. That's hard. Really, they're really different. And just when I play Call of Duty, I play to win. I've been playing Call of Duty for almost 10 years now with my brother, and I'm usually on the top. And if I'm not, I'm pissed.
So here's a better question. Those guys that kill you and you see they've got like 1 or 2 purple star cards, do those guys tend to have a significant amount of more kills than say you and a couple other guys?
To be honest, I haven't paid attention to who's
okay. I think that's a better metric to look at than when like team win and loss, because you could have like 4 dudes on the other team that have like 3 purple star cards, but if the rest of their team are newbies and you've got a bunch of mediocre guys, you guys are probably going to win just due to
and I'm sure my MMR is also putting me with people who aren't very good because I'm not very good. That's also going to be a thing. The only thing I will add is that I don't think I've ever lost a battle because I felt like my character was inferior. I've always felt like, oh, that guy beat me because he's got a sniper rifle and has been watching this spot for the past 10 seconds, and I just stood in it without map awareness.
But I don't think that's what people are concerned about. What people are concerned about is if you have 2 players with the exact same skill level,
right,
and one person has star cards and the other person doesn't.
I'm saying, to me, the meta seems to be more team oriented than individual oriented. So even if someone is more powerful, it doesn't seem to be affecting as much as long as I'm standing with my team that I spawned with, then I'm more powerful to take on enemies. Whereas, but it's hard to tell, and that is not like for sure. Those cards aren't affecting things. They could definitely be, and like I said, I've seen purple cards come up when I've died and been like, well, I have 1 gray card, so that's fair.
Right.
But I'm just saying, and all from my point of view, and Jeremy has pointed out, and probably fairly, that because I bought it, I'm probably being a little kinder to it than most people are going to be. That it just hasn't felt like a factor, but I've only played multiplayer like 3 or 4 times, 5 times. I really bought the game for the single player. Just fantastic.
See, and now that they've actually backtracked and they have said they're going to be removing, or they have already removed, the payable option.
No, they disabled it. Let's be clear.
They
made the intention that they're going to re-enable it in the future, which is shady to me. But to be fair, they had a launchable game launching. How do you change code to remove that? Right. So that's fair, but then for them to go, oh, by the way, we're going to re-enable it in the future.
And if they re-enable
they're going to retool it, But
yeah, if they turn it to cosmetics, I'm fine.
I'd be fine with it.
So I want to. You guys both kind of give your opinions, and I actually really agree with most of what you guys have said, especially about microtransactions. And I really didn't like Battlefront's plan, Battlefront 2's plan going in. I was totally against it. But the only thing I feel like I'm different as is what Jason kind of started out with is he expects his game company to care about the customer, and I like that, but I kind of go into games with the understanding that they're trying to get my money. When I pull up a free to play mobile game and there's definitely pay to win in it, I'm not mad at them. They're a free to play phone game, and I knew what I was getting into when I turned it on. And then I hit a paywall, and I'm like, nah, I'm not paying you. Bye. And I do. Okay, so I think EA was scummy in their initiation, but when Call of Duty is like, hey, wouldn't you like more skins? Look at this guy's skins. I don't mind that, but I don't. If the money's going to like a CEO's pocket, that makes me mind it more. If it's going into the DLC that comes out in 3 months, I'm like, hey, I hope you do find a whale, and my game gets better because of it.
Before we move on, can someone explain to me what whale is?
Yeah,
a whale is a person who invests massive quantities, like thousands of dollars, into the premium content. And they've done a lot of studies on this, and they've found that the whales, they don't need very many of them. They make them so much money and
that's where the money comes from. It has nothing to do with the guy who actually spends $1 on your microtransaction. It's the guy who's like, you know what? I'm just going to throw $100 into this game.
Yeah.
And they only need that to happen a couple times, and then they've hit profit.
Yep. That's why, like in the MechWarrior game that we were playing for a while, they rely on whales too. Even though their content is only partially pay to win. Like if you think
all free to play games really need whales to succeed.
Yeah. And I was actually thinking that, like, when it comes to the MMR and stuff, they do some shady stuff, and it's still inside of inside of Battlefront. Yeah, Star Wars Battlefront 2. I always want to call it Battlefield as well.
We can just call it Star Wars. I think everyone's gonna know
Star Wars. Star Wars 2. I think there's a lot of connections that are still left up that were built to try and channel people towards that premium content, and that stuff's going to be there. Like you said, seeing the cards of the people that killed you. In Call of Duty, I think I read that it was opening loot boxes in public, and you actually get awards if you watch the right number of loot boxes be open in public, you get your daily quest fulfilled.
So my God! Wait, hold on. Everything he just said is true, but the context is completely missing.
Okay, please fill in the context.
Okay, so there are daily quests that you go to sign up for. That's the only way I've been able to find to earn loot boxes. I can't figure out where to buy them from. Not that I want to, but I was looking actually for this minisode. I think they might going to turn it on in the future, but I can't find it right now. You cannot buy loot boxes. But these quests also do stuff like give you experience, and there's something called social points, so I don't know what they do.
God, everything's getting so social.
The quests are optional. And you get to choose which ones you want. And the first time I turned it on, there was a quest: go watch someone open a loot box.
What is this?
But hold on.
It's such mental manipulation. It's so blatant, so clear. Go on. Sorry.
And it gave me a reward when I did, and I moved on. Now, I do want to say, though, I actually like the social space opening loot boxes because I play Call of Duty with my brother for the past 6 years. Call of Duty area, and when the loot boxes came out, not a big fan of them, but it was cool to open loot boxes and be like, hey, what'd you get? Oh, I got this cool skin. What'd you get? Oh, I just got a stupid calling card. Now we don't have to describe it to each other over a comm. We can just open them side by side and be like, oh, look at you, stupid idiot, you didn't get it.
But I'm okay with the RNG of the loot box being things like skins.
Yes, and Call of Duty is completely cosmetic.
It's completely cosmetic.
Yeah.
Last Call of Duty was not, and Call of Duty had a huge drop in their player base because of it. They had actual guns that you unlocked from it, and some were meta strong and some weren't. But people hated the fact that, oh, there's a guy shooting me with a gun that I can't get unless I get lucky, which means I need to pay you money to raise that luck. And the player base dropped, and Call of Duty World War II went back to completely cosmetics. You can get different looking guns, but the stats are always the same. And they had doubled their sales in the opening weekend from the last game.
Mm-hmm.
Some would say it's because they got rid of the jetpacks, but I'd like to think the microtransaction bettering. So
People want a fair battleground. That's what they want. They want to be able to fight fair.
But so okay, you described phone games with pay to win. I'm okay with that. I played Heroes Charge for a long time. I ended up spending $35 on that game.
You will.
And I was okay spending that money because not only did I feel I got the value out of it, I enjoyed the game enough that I wanted to support the developers.
Right.
I didn't pay for the initial game. EA was expecting people to drop $60 to $100 on this game with a pre-order or after pre-order, and then with these shady tactics of getting people to pay to win. That's what I had a problem with. If you're gonna go microtransactions with a pay to win system, don't charge for your game. Because or charge for what?
Drop the charge for microtransactions and just make it a flat subscription.
God, I hate subscriptions.
Rift
yeah, but
it tried that, and actually it was pretty rewarding. You paid for the game for Rift, which it's a WoW clone, and there were RNG loot boxes you could get with in-game currency that you could either buy or earn, and actually the rate that you earned it, very few people decided to buy it unless they felt like buying it. It wasn't necessary, but with your subscription loyalty, they would give you boxes.
There you go.
They would just give it to you, and yeah, that would encourage you to want to buy more. But at least it was it felt like a give and take from the developers instead of a take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want to add just one quick loop back on the Call of Duty loot boxes, and like I said, I don't have a problem with Activision trying to trick me into buying loot boxes. Even though I can't figure out how to buy them. Like
someone from Activision, email us.
So maybe that's not even a thing. There's a couple of things in that social space where they're like, "Hey, go do this," and I feel like they're just like, "Did you know you can go do this? We want you to know you can throw grenades into those tires to practice your throw. So go throw 5 into a tire." And I don't know what the loot box thing was. That like, "Hey, did you know you can go watch loot boxes?" The only reason that I think it's not that big a deal is because it was optional. It wasn't like, hey, just so you know, you have to go watch loot boxes today. It was like, hey, if this is something you're interested in, you can pick this contract, you can get these orders, go find someone to do it with, and then get a reward.
I could just imagine if Join Match was grayed out until you went to watch it.
Seriously, yeah, then you would have a major problem. Or if you even like you didn't choose your orders, like here's your 3 quests for today, if you even want any rewards. But I get to choose my rewards, and I get to choose what I have to do, and I don't have to choose that one. So I was
wondering. It's not like HOTS where you get your 3 daily quests, and until you fulfill them, they don't disappear.
Now you also get. To be fair, you do get a bonus if you complete all your daily quests.
Okay.
I don't play that much to ever do that because you have 24 hours to do all 6, and usually there's 1 or 2 that are very hard to do. Sniper rifles are the devil to me.
I can't snipe.
I can't snipe. So I don't know. I don't have a problem with it because it's with that one. That's all.
It increases your social score. That's what it is. I'm reading an article about it right now, and watching other people open their loot crates increases your social score.
Which is like one of the worst.
It increases your chance of getting better loot box contents. That's what social score does.
Okay, but that's good.
It's like raising rarity.
Okay,
if they get you to watch it, I get it now.
Let's bring this.
If I can't buy a loot box, what does that matter?
Right. No, I need to look at that more.
Let's bring this back around a little bit. I would like to. I don't know. Besides, I love Star Wars, and they're holding my child hostage. Do you have any other justifications for why you decided to buy?
How could you do this, Troy?
No, that's not fair.
I do. Part of it is I am a horrible person, and I openly admit it. To
viewers,
fair,
you heard him.
This is not the first battle of the gaming community. Okay, it started with DLC is the devil. Guys, don't buy the DLC. Everyone bought the DLC. It's everywhere. It's still everyone still buys the DLC. Yep. Don't pre-order. Don't get pre-order bonuses. Guys, pre-ordering is the devil. Everyone still pre-orders. Pre-order bonuses are still everywhere.
Yep.
Now it's microtransactions. Microtransactions are the devil. So this is where we draw the line in the sand. And anyone who crosses that line is the devil. Wait, what about the DLC? And and that's another thing. DLC to me is way more annoying than microtransactions. I would rather play Star Wars, and
So
like I said, I play Star Wars. I play Star Wars casually, so I don't really care. The fact that they got rid of the DLC and every map I'm going to get for free, and if they're trying to make that money back through microtransactions, I'm kind of okay with that.
So
because I hate DLC.
Here's how I would fix EA's issue currently. The money you get from each match, if instead of having to open a loot crate to get RNG, to get crafting material, to then craft my gun, if I could just then spend those coins, instead of getting crafting material and RNG, I could choose between RNGing for star cards and getting a new gun. If I could just spend that money on guns instead of remove crafting material altogether, or keep it in and only have it for attachments, and lower it like 45.
So what I've played of Star Wars, single player is great. Gameplay of the multiplayer is great. I actually hate the system. Every time I get a card, I'm like, I don't know if this is important or I care about this, or do I put my money into this? Where do I spend my money? I don't even want to bother with that stuff. I just want to play Star Wars game. And when I play the Star Wars game, I have a lot of fun. And I don't play the Star Wars Battlefront like I play Call of Duty. I'm not playing to win. Actually, when I'm editing this podcast, I will be playing Star Wars because I can just turn off the screen, switch over and edit something, and then jump back into Star Wars. My character didn't move or he died, and I don't care.
That's fine, but if for someone that wants, so let's say someone likes the heavy, they love playing the heavy from the last game, they like the way they love the way it feels in this one, right? The gameplay's better. I want to get the next heavy gun. I want to get the next star card that's going to help with my heavy. There's so many other star cards, and getting crafting material is so difficult.
Yeah.
Being able to focus on one class is near impossible unless obviously I can't buy loot boxes anymore, but I would have had to just purchase loot box after loot box after loot box until I got my character to where I wanted him.
And even now it's still annoying, even without the microtransactions.
Whatever happened to the games where if I wanted to better my character, I had to go play him more?
They did they made a change where they were supposed to help that, but I haven't been paying attention because, again, that's not what I care about when I play. So I understand. Right. It's a horrible system. I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just not ruining what's fun for me.
It's the progression that irritates me, because when I play games, especially with an RPG element, which this game has, I want a very satisfying, very predictable, and understandable system to upgrade or get better or level up or whatever game it is. And if it's tied to RNG, unless I go into it like with that expectation, like Path of Exile, how am I supposed to predictively upgrade my character if I'm spending the coins that I earn on loot boxes that give me star cards for something else? So I know we've beaten that dead horse to death and beyond. But
the thing where we're separate on is I'm not disagreeing with you. I actually 100% agree with you. But when I sit in that X-Wing and fly around, I'm still having fun. And what I get to that grindy system, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. I this is the worst. Okay, I'm back in the X-Wing. Yeah, I'm having fun again. Thank you.
And I think that's where they excelled, is they made all the reviewers I was hearing before this fiasco, this is an amazing game.
It's got such bad scores, and every review is like, it's really fun, but there's this bad system.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it can be enough to ruin it, which is really sad. I'm glad that it kind of resolved itself pretty well. Whether Disney twisted their arm or whatever happened, but
that's the rumors.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad things happened the way they did. And I know you're suspicious still, Jason, and I totally see the grounds for it. But I would actually almost, I kind of want to reward them by getting it, but I don't know.
I've actually thought about getting it myself, but I'm gonna wait.
Yeah, I think waiting to see what they do with that microtransaction when they turn it back on, and honestly, letting them balance, if they stick to their word and balance out this grindy progression system and make it so that it doesn't matter what star cards you're getting, all the characters are leveling up so that you're satisfied.
Yeah.
And everyone's basically coming out equal in the end anyway. Like I said, to me, that wasn't the kicker. I honestly bought this game. Me and my best friend, who loves Star Wars since we were little wee children, saw this game. We're like, we're getting it. It's ties. We talk about lore all the time, and it's like, hey, this story has lore. We're getting it, you and me, and we're gonna talk about it. And that was all that ever mattered to me. And then, like I said, I play the multiplayer to feel the feeling of, oh man, I'm in the X-wing. This is the best. Oh, that TIE Fighter is way superior to me because of those stupid star cards, but I'm still in the X-wing. and that's what it is for me. And that's a very personal decision. Where I'm not like, why isn't everyone having fun like I am? Like, of course you're not. That you're not me. You don't have a very different relationship with this game. It's a very specific. And we've brought up Shadow of War. While I love Shadow of Mordor, I had nothing to do with Shadow of War because it won't have that same fun for me because of their
Works in a crate.
I was ready to put my money down for that game the next time I was going to do a game purchase. And as soon as you told me about that, I started looking at reviews. I started looking at scores. And yeah, it's not nearly as heavy as what EA had designed. And in fact, you can go into it without ever purchasing from that box. And you can complete the game and all its content and, you know, level up as much as you want. But it does tick that boycott box for me. And I'm going to have to really consider whether I'm going to ever get it.
Yeah, it's a symptom that is just overtaking gaming in general lately, from the AAA studios especially. And it's unfortunate to see. I think it's also unfortunate because it's hard sometimes to distinguish between what is an attempt at doing something different from the standards, different from the norm when it comes from a developer's perspective. You know, like DICE has made comments in some of their responses that, you know, we were trying to create a system that would encourage people to try different classes out. And I can see where they would be coming from as developers to be able to say that. But at the same time, people are going to naturally try them out. I mean, if you make these classes available, sure, they might say, hey, this is my favorite class, and they may stick to that. But eventually they might try them out. If they don't try them out, then they're loving the one that they've got, and you've succeeded at your job anyways. But I can feel for them as developers, because it's hard to not want to pave new ground. I speak as if I'm a developer, for sure. But I mean, I can think about it, and you know, to try and pave new ground or try to do something different. Yeah, and then get yelled at for it. But you don't know how much of that was influenced purely because of the money-grabbing techniques involved in microtransactions.
I have a strong suspicion that they would have got a pass by the community, and this outrage would not have happened if their game was $10, $20, or free.
I agree with that.
If it was drastically reduced, I don't think there would be near this outcry.
There's also,
like, look at KOTOR, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So there is an example right there that if you make it free to play, right, and then allow pay to win, it would work.
People give it a pass.
And to be devil's advocate, we don't know cost, but EA is the devil. It's probably all going to the CEO's pocket, right? I think the CFO has even been quoted of saying, like, it's about getting the money, guys.
And I understand where you've been
CFO to do that. I don't.
And I understand where you've been coming from all week. This mentality of people that want to hate on EA just to hate on EA.
Yeah.
And I would most of the time agree with you, especially if they don't. Okay, I will agree with you if they don't have reasons. But I would mostly agree with you if it wasn't EA. The problem is that EA has murdered company after company after company that I have loved in the past and ruined franchises that I've loved. And they've done it over and over and over again. SimCity, Need for Speed.
Yeah, their company that got killed, those developers were tasked with making the flying in Battlefront 2. So that actually worked out for me.
It's okay. They were turned into Soylent
X-Wing. Really good job. Yeah, right.
Game after game after game, company after company, they've just done awful things to these franchises, and
EA deserves the flack they're getting.
It's just unfortunate DICE has to be the front man and absorb all of it.
Right, and Star Wars, because I love it. That was a part of it. I want to see Star Wars do well because I don't want it to ever go away. I've said enough on that. The one thing I do want to add, before we try to turn this back to anime a little bit, is there's other issues that we are actually not really touching on that some people have problems, like something that's gambling, basically, where children can get to it. And I actually think that even if it's cosmetics, if you have microtransaction loot boxes, you should be a rated M game. At least that'd be a step in the right direction. I'm fine if you're trying to touch my gambling addiction to get me to buy stuff. I'm an adult. A casino does that. That's fine.
It's regulated.
Right. Yeah. But there should be consideration to kids who don't know better going into this kind of stuff.
There's a lot of horror stories that have happened because of this, where kids have just spent money like crazy.
And it does, I mentioned collectible card games in the intro. That every time I start going through the progression of the logic of all this, I end up back at collectible card games in real world. Is it irresponsible for Magic the Gathering to sell booster packs to 12-year-olds? That is a form. That is a real world loot box.
So, but to be fair, right, in order for them to purchase that, they've got to, I guess you can buy cards online now, but
credit card.
In the old days, you had to go to a game shop and give them money in order to get a booster pack.
And I did that.
I think in that way it started from a safer place.
But I agree with you. It's the exact same system. Your progression in the game is tied to RNG, buying these things. The same thing happened with me with multiple different collectible card games, where I'm now, a new booster pack comes out and the power creep is so steep that I am now behind the curve because I haven't bought any of the new stuff. So then I have to buy the new stuff.
And it legit is pay to win. I mean, that's what they're based on.
Absolutely. First pay to win systems.
So when we take EA to task, do those factor in, or because they're not video games, it doesn't matter?
I think
anyone remember hating DLC and pre-order bonuses, or was that just me now?
I never hated DLC. I always thought DLC was cool because it was a bonus. But then I never really consumed a lot of the newest games as they came out. So for me, when there was an expansion pack, it was usually something significant. Like in Morrowind, it was the Tribunal and the Skyrim expansion for it. And other games too. There was always something big. Later on, it became these tiny things because of being able to just download them.
Skyrim tried the saddle thing. Obviously, it didn't work out, and they kind of dropped that stuff. But
I didn't even have Oblivion at the time.
Because
I didn't like it. Got rid of it.
But does Bethesda make that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does Bethesda get a pass for trying something like that?
They got so much flack.
I think they had their time in the blistering hot.
That's just me devil advocating. Like I don't think I probably have bought it. Yeah, I bought these DLC. I still don't like it. And
it depends on how much it costs and what kind of content
and how much content you get. Yeah, are you getting your bang for your buck? And at first you weren't, and I do think it's a lot better now. And that's probably due to community and voting with your wallet.
I think DLC is more of a situation of the developer has an idea of what they want to produce. They may have even started on this extra stuff that they wanted to make. But if the game's not going to make any money, they're not going to finish making it, and they're not going to make it available.
Right, but there are a lot of examples of games where they had like a DLC already on the disc and you had to pay to unlock it.
In that kind of situation, I don't think it's a good idea. I think
look at the newest XCOM expansion. You'd gladly put down money for that, and I haven't heard one negative thing about it.
Oh yeah, but like I said, that was an expansion that they made significantly after they released the full game, and I love that. I think that's great because they're giving me more of what I love. So
I'm gonna start pulling us to a close, guys. Just so you know, we are on a time limit, so not all our thoughts on, and I'm sure you do want to write horrible things to us in our YouTube comments.
It's good to get a comment.
I'm probably going to block them, to be fair, not for censorship, just because the little kids could come across this stuff. And so if you keep it constructive, it'll stay there. But if you're calling me or my friends bad words, it's not going to hang out. Hey guys, can you tie this to anime in any way? You got 1 minute.
I would not watch the next season, or episode of Dragon Ball Z if I had to buy a loot crate, and in the loot crate was RNG, whether I would get enough crafting material to then unlock the next episode.
That's right. Or the next fighting scene. Like you get the rest of the episode, but you don't get the fighting scenes unless
You don't get the fight scene unless you get it by RNG. Okay.
Or you get the fight scene, but the big energy attack in the middle, not going to be there.
No effects.
I do think if this kind of thing somehow did tie to anime, it would show up in Shonen first.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only thing I thought when Jeremy proposed, like, hey, let's bring this back to anime because we're an anime podcast. My first thought was, well, we are seeing a lot of animes about MMO worlds show up now. That's a genre now.
That was what I was going to say too.
I would love to see the villains like just have a team called the Whales, and they're just the bad guys who bought all the RNG packs, and so they have all the power, and the good guy has to beat them by being a true free to play,
by grinding.
That would be my anime pitch. Yeah.
You know what would be DLC considered though? Like with Is It Wrong to Pick Up Chicks in the Dungeon? You know how they had that side story for the girl? That would be that would be a DLC season, huh?
Totally. I was thinking the same thing about the video game MMO, stuck in a game world anime, and I think that they are the perfect situation to present the character of a player who struggles with, what if I bought that but I don't have any money? I could totally see, because I've been there.
The big antagonist, his name could be Eric Aaron.
Eric Aaron.
What his initials would be.
EA. Oh God, EA. Oh God. Yes.
I think that's a good stopping spot. I think we're good.
Yes.
Back to anime. We are currently watching Princess Principal. It's 12 episodes long, and we hope you're enjoying it. And we will be talking about that next week. If you want to comment on anything we talked about,
keep it constructive.
Yes, please.
As we have tried to do.
And be respectful of other people's choices. I'm not your video game hero. I'm not here to save the video game world. I'm here to play Star Wars. You can reach us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast, or email the animebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found this. And we might get back to you this time. This is a maybe. But we appreciate you listening to three Bakas talk about subject matter way beyond our feeble selves.
Absolutely.
And with that, I think we should say goodbye.
Apparently this show is kid friendly.
Yes.
It's PG-13.
Thanks for listening.
Don't be a whale, or maybe do. I don't know.
Okay, that was a great note to go out on.
Just have fun. Sayonara.